All right. I'm showing the 3 o'clock across the board and on the wall. So we'll go ahead and call this special called meeting, of the Ashe County Board of Education, to order for November the 17th, 2025. We'll start with roll call. Miss Janet Ward,
Present.
Miss Teresa Calhoun,
Present.
Miss Polly Jones, Miss Diane Eldridge,
Present.
Josh Roten present as well. Next we've got on here is approval of the agenda. I do have one thing we might want to discuss next meeting in December. We may have to change time frame on that. So if that's okay with you all, we could add that under discussion, if that's okay. That's one thing I forgot about on there. So anybody have anything else? I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I move we approve the amended agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Calhoun. Any other questions, comments? All in favor, raise your hand. All right, motion carries. Next, we'll open up with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sure. Personnel. So we've got personnel on there. You emailed those out to us on there. Does anybody have any questions for personnel? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the personnel.
I make the motion to approve the personnel.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Calhoun. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Now we'll jump into the meat and potatoes, as they say, on there of the 3,000 policies and updates.
So on your agenda here, I think we probably would need to start, depending on how long the others take, with the ones that actually need to be updated by during the December meeting. That way we have them in compliance with legislation. And so if we could start there, I think that would be helpful. These are policies we already have. They just need updated, and there are 6 of them.
Is that the one with
Policies that need updated due to recent legislation? That's the one.
okay. Maybe.
And then, of course, we'll bring them to the December meeting for formal approval, but I think we need to start with these particular policies first.
No. Is it in its own folder?
It's if you click on assembly, it's
Okay.
I'm in the there are only 6 of them, so we included them individually there. And then their special update table, it's already in there. Just because these are not in the necessarily in the 3,000s.
Okay.
In fact, none of these are in the 3,000s.
So we can just click on
You can just click on
the page. Okay.
And the policy table was one that I printed for you last time too. There was a second policy table.
So it looks like, are we starting 3565 and 8307?
So we'd start with 1310 slash the parental involvement one, which we've had on the books. And really, I wanted to share with you the update on 3 of the policies. 1310 slash 4002.
We don't have, where do we go to see it?
It's in your supporting documents here.
Oh, it's item number 2 under action. My apologies.
If you hit refresh, then you'll
Yeah, it's under number 2 under action. I was clicking on number 1.
It's actually number 1 now.
Oh, well, it's
okay.
guess what? It's number 1 now.
Sorry.
I hit refresh.
That's okay.
All right.
So 1310 slash, let me tell you the background on 3 of the policies. One of them, or 2 of them are in the next series that we'll do in the 3000s. But 1310/4002 parental involvement, along with 3320, which is in a different, it's in the 3000s, that's school trips, and 3620, which is extracurricular activities and student organizations. The language that the school board added for these, and this is based on legislation from this past summer, added policies to address the new requirement that boards adopt a policy prohibiting students from sharing sleeping quarters with a member of the other biological sex during any activity or authorized by a school, except when authorized by the school in either of the following circumstances. But you can limit it further and not give these circumstances if you don't want to. But the circumstances would be that the parents or legal guardians of all students sharing those sleeping quarters have provided written permission. And I don't know that that's a lot of work on our schools to be able to keep up with that and the permissions. And I don't know if you really want boys and girls sharing rooms together. And 2, the member of the other biological sex, the student's immediate family member. Now that, if it's a brother and sister, and a parent who are now sharing the same room for a field trip, that might be a different story for a brother and sister.
It's
But
page 812, item 12, item 12.
Okay.
Page 8, item 12.
But anyway, that was why these 3 have specific changes to that policy. And again, I have reservations about boys and girls sleeping in the same room together. Again, if it's a sibling, if you've got twins and a boy and a girl, I wouldn't mind that. But I think it's dangerous otherwise.
I would say no to all of it.
Well, the only consideration that I might have if their brother and sister, or if their parents are with them, is monetary. Saving money for, hotel rooms. If you've got a family, that's different, but I think the parents should be there.
Well, I
That's
can
okay.
say that, and I don't know about other families, but I've chaperoned lots of my kids' field trips. And my kids always wanted to be with their friends, not with.
Always, but what if they're,
But you could limit that.
Yeah, you could.
yeah, I agree with you on that, but at the same time, that might be the only way that they could go is if they could share a room, but
We've been making a lot of concessions for families and trying to fundraise and make sure nobody
Yeah, I
misses
know.
out on a trip, so.
I get that.
But you could stop it at,
It would
the
go-
member of the other biological sex during any activity or event authorized by a school, period. And then just take away the exceptions. And then not have to worry about, that. But I'll tell you, I chaperoned a field trip, and with my child, it was an overnight field trip, and I had boys. But that allowed me to do it, but they're talking about students, so there weren't any others in there, but they didn't share rooms either. So it's a different situation.
I've never shared a room with any of my children that we went on a field trip. I'm just thinking if money is a problem, that shouldn't be. Maybe we can help them if it is.
If we put a period after the authorized by the school, or an event authorized by the school,
Period.
and then a parents want to sleep with their child, but the child is a different sex.
Well, but
We
these are
can
only
still
things.
do that, can't we?
Well, you could if with a period, because it says prohibiting students
Just
sharing.
students, so it doesn't exclude families. So I
Correct.
would think that we could just end with that period. I'd like to shorten things when we can.
Agree. And so if you look at 13, they're all worded slightly differently. So 1310/4022. That's under number 12, so it was added to it, and we could, this one keeps, unless this particular version keeps unless it's a member of this immediate family member. Or you could just delete it after, authorized by the school, period. It's up to you all.
I move we put a period after authorized by the school and delete the rest of it.
That won't be too much trouble for the school. Be fine.
Certainly don't want them to be able to do it with parent permission, like, oh
No,
my lord, no.
we get all kinds of permissions.
I'll
Stop
second
it.
that motion, Janet.
I'm fine with that. Just doing that.
And the rest of it was, adopted in December of 23. So it was, none of the other things had really, changed other than that on that particular policy, 1310 slash. It's actually 4022, not 002. That was a typo on my part.
Are we ready for a vote?
So will that policy, okay, be listed both places then, because I thought we were trying to get rid of,
So what
Some of that
happens is
duplication?
they all have, these have cross references. So if it's in the
Mhm.
10,000s, they'll come out.
just the 10,000.
Unless it's otherwise noted, but several of our policies do have double notifications. Sometimes it's like 4,000s are the student series. And so this happens to be like structures of the board, I guess you could say, which is where parental involvement is. But the others would be as regard to the student itself. So you'll notice that sometimes they cross-reference each other.
Okay, so Mr. Earl, it will be this the parent plan will be part of our school improvement plans when they are presented? Is that what I not heard you say, that it would be addressed in the school improvement plan? Is that not what this said? Or no? Maybe I misunderstood.
They don't have to, like this is the 1310, like our Title I plan includes parent involvement. It's not necessarily a school improvement plan. The state gives us certain
Okay.
goals for that one, and it's dressed a little differently. But the Title I parent, family engagement, we had it addressed in our strategic plan as far as parent engagement. So,
Every school sends home a PFE every year. Yeah, they have to by law with Title I, send home a parent family engagement plan every year. And every school has an individual when they send. Yeah, and that's federal.
Okay, so we're talking about the same federal, I'm just not using the right language. Okay. thank you.
probably because they change it so often.
Yeah.
Okay. I was reading here, parents of students in Title I school shall receive a copy of the system-wide Title I and family engagement policy and school-wide parent involvement plan.
So there is a document that goes home and is posted on our website that has all of the things that the parental notices that we have to give every year, and it's updated every year. And it's directly on our website, and it's something that goes, we give the notice to parents every single year. And it's like 18 or 20 pages long. It's ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
It
They
is.
do, there's one part of that where they have to even sign saying they saw it and turn it back, and that's our proof. And when they get audited, that's what we do. Not for every student, but we have an example of.
And we send home the other, and it has a thing, I wanted, in writing or tell them where it's actually seen, because, printing off 18 pages or 20 pages for every family is a lot. So it's posted online, and then we have a handful each year that ask for it.
So they can ask for it if they feel like they need it.
Yes.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's in Spanish too.
Anything we send home to parents has to be in a multiple languages.
Until ICE gets here.
Okay, so the next policy, and of course, these will be brought back to the December meeting for a final vote. So the next policy in that is 4120. And this particular policy has quite a few changes. So it talks about the domicile residence requirements. And of course, there's parts that are specifically, so if you look down to some of it's legal language that's just required. So that's what the first 3 bullets are. So in especially C and D, it's strongly recommended for E. And so if you look down to E, that particular language is for if we have a JROTC, it's recommended. It's not required, but strongly recommended. It says a homeschool student who resides within the assigned area of a school that maintains JROTC unit shall be permitted membership in the JROTC unit without regard to domicile if the student is otherwise qualified for membership, but for lack of enrollment. And so I would, me personally, if they're going to come only for JROTC, they're not counted as one of our students. I think that they should have to at least be enrolled half-time, because that's the requirement to meet for our student enrollment. And you guys have the flexibility to change that. They're trying to, in this language, they're trying to give more flexibility for students who choose not to enroll in Nash County schools. I'm fine if they come half a day and take that many classes with us. I just don't want to give them a seat when others perhaps cannot, because that means we'd have to push out full-time students to accommodate. The language is different.
That's the same requirement for athletics.
It's the same requirement for athletics too. I would prefer that they have to be enrolled at least half a day.
I've just used the same thing
Or
we use for
half a
athletics.
day, or how many classes. You don't have to do, you do not have to do.
Half a day.
Right, a half a day or half the number of classes that are half or more number of classes.
We were on 5.
Maybe 3, yeah. So, in fact, we might, I don't know how we verification from, you okay?
I just need a cough drop. I got a cough drop.
I swallowed my.
Wrong way.
Mhm.
You be allowed to have those?
She's-
Take it anyway.
Why did they add this way? Different from anything else? Is it just their recommendation?
That is, this is a recommendation.
Because not all districts have ROTC.
Not all districts have ROTC, and not all districts allow any participation by homeschool students. Now, we do, we have some students who come. We have that are half-time, which is usually, I know you've been working on some of that lately.
They've moved to the high school. We have.
Most of those enroll full-time at the high school.
Okay, awesome, okay. And then we have one, which is great, because she's been homeschooled her whole life, and she's half-time. She's gonna turn full-time, I think, but I think we might still have 1 or 2 in the school.
I personally think you should keep it the same as athletics, if that's the requirement of athletics, because you have a lot of folks that want to do athletics that do homeschool, and I don't really understand why you'd have this different than those requirements. Same way if they want to participate in band. or
Right, if it's
in-
band, you still have to take another class.
Right,
Or two, depending on the schedule. So if we offer 5 classes, then they would have to take 3 of the 5. It just has to be half or more.
I
In
agree.
logistics, does a halftime student count in the daily membership? Those hours count in the daily membership that helps bring us more funds? And if they're going to be in a teacher's classroom, taking a seat that someone else might want, then I think the half day makes perfect sense.
Well, it also
Benefits
allows
us
us
in
to,
multiple ways.
it allows us to count them
Mhm.
so that we can get additional support as well. And if not, they would not count toward us and we would have them in a seat, perhaps taking it away from somebody who is full-time.
But not gaining any money.
It seems really strange that they would mention
just that.
just JROTC
Mhm.
because it's, why isn't athletics part of this one? I know we have a separate policy. We debated that one several years ago. But why, it just seems really strange to me that that would be embedded in this about domicile, which
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I think
That's
part of it
strange.
might be the way the funds come in from ROTC. We pay a portion of it, but the rest is paid for by, what's federal, but it runs through the state. So it may be that, but I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I would think part of it is that for high school students that are homeschooled, this is a career track that they can't get training in at home. So.
That's
well, that's true. Mhm.
We couldn't make a policy for all of the different groups, could we? Like, just pile it all into one, meaning band, RO?
So we haven't discriminated, as far as, courses are concerned, if a student wants to take it, unless they're already full or have caps. So some of the CTE programs might already have caps whenever the request comes in, and you're not going to open up another section for one child.
Oh, gotcha.
Or it may be that, a certain class is not offered during the time that they can be there.
Gotcha.
So, but we do accommodate as much as we can. And a
Okay.
lot of them choose to take through us, some of the community college classes, because they actually get support through us that they don't get by enrolling directly into the community
Okay.
college.
Are we having more requests? We have a pretty considerable homeschool base now. Are we having more requests for these types of?
We have quite a few students at the high school now who have come back directly to Ashe County High School and Ashe County Early College High School, in the last several years, directly from homeschool.
Yeah, Miss Williams probably has 4 or 5, at least, who've come back. And then a lot of times in middle, they want to do it because they're, they're really heavy into rodeo or gymnastics, and
And they
that
need
allows them to get out,
flexibility.
flexible. Um,
And we do have some kids that have some real talents in other areas, and so they might take a class through us, but not necessarily on our campus. It gives them different access, but then they do have the flexibility for participation in rodeos popular around here.
On a side note, I heard Luke from the soccer team announcing he's going to Spain next year. I hadn't heard that. That's exciting
He's going
that they're doing that.
He's very excited about it. And I had Luke when he was in the 4th grade
I imagined you did.
and I had to take my tennis shoes because we went out to recess and every day we played soccer at recess, every day. A whole bunch of boys, so I'm very excited about that. But anyway, the reason I was asking is, as far as policies are concerned, do we need to address how we're gonna handle? It can change our numbers, and often they don't tend to follow the same schedule as school. Correct me if I'm wrong, Julia, or whomever, but they come in like in October.
If it's October, it's beyond our,
They have to
it-
start when the school starts. What about the elementary schools and middle school?
You mean to come in
Enroll-
part-time?
Enroll in.
Like to count in membership, is that what you like to count in our ADM?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first 10 days.
First 10 days is
Well, it's,
First 40.
it's the best of
40.
two, it's the first month or the first 20 days or the second 20, it's the best of the first 20 days or,
Best one of two.
yes, that's one.
Best of the first 20 days or the best of the second 20 days. He's the
that
example.
changed?
He's the example.
A
On
few
day
years ago.
20, we have 100 first graders. On day 40, we have 102. We count the 102. And they do it by grade level, by 20-day increments.
Yeah, Friday, he had to do the class
Yeah.
count.
So we technically, like, we have 2,505 students today. We technically could have we could have our best one of two of 2,510 because it takes higher than two. I understand, but I'm just kidding.
You're just getting the best of whichever of the two
Yeah,
is, basically.
that's smart.
Yeah, whichever's the higher is what you take.
Whichever one's highest.
And that's what they use for the next year.
So say day 65, we get some more students. They don't go, we don't get no benefits from that.
Mhm.
We do not. Now, we do have students that come in beyond the 40 days, especially during Christmas tree and pumpkin
Mhm.
season,
Mhm.
and they've never counted for us. We just, sometimes you just have to get another teacher or write for an exception.
Well, that's why you
and
have
that's-
flexibility in
Yep.
the K-3 class size enrollment gap.
So if we get close, we have to add somebody, if we think that there might be an influx in a certain grade level. That's very difficult to predict, especially in those early grades, if they're not already ours, or that we don't know that they're returning like they did in the year previous.
And the state wouldn't allow for us to say 20 students coming in during pumpkin and Christmas time.
No, we're not allowed to go over class size at all without that exception beyond that 40 days.
It's a +3, is it?
It's plus
Plus
3.
three.
That's +3. So I mean, the chances of us to have, 4 kids in one grade level that you can't split into multiple classes for a short period of time is not common, but in 2016, we had 100 kids at Mountain View alone, right?
That was one of our last biggest years, I think.
More of those families are more permanent. than
They are, they
used to
become
be.
more permanent.
Yes.
And feeding off about what I think Diane said about, and maybe Teresa on the ROTC, it's the only reference for homeschool students. It seems to make sense to me that we maybe put a sentence in there that expands this, that mentions that homeschool students could take part-time classes, a half-day program at the high school, unless you think that that's not a necessary thing to list here. But if I was a homeschool parent looking for options through your policies for parent involvement or wherever I was looking, do you have it somewhere else where it expounds that?
So we do have it in some procedures, but let me check to be sure that we're not putting it twice in different wording.
Right.
Of a different place.
Because you've got it someplace, we don't need to expand it here.
Absolutely.
That's the first time I can remember ROTC being mentioned.
It is because it's part of the new law that
Yeah. I get
they
that.
specifically mention it. It's recommended, not required, but it's strongly recommended for anybody with this. But I would prefer it to say that they take 2 classes or more so that they're actually enrolled.
Mhm.
That way it comes with a lot more documentation that it's partly a safety thing too.
Do we have any kids that are remotely enrolled because of military?
I don't think so.
No, right now we don't.
We've had them
Have
in the
have we
past.
had them? Because we're not close to a base.
We had some odd things happen during COVID, but I'm not sure they were military related like that.
But we do
I know
have
there's potential that we've had them.
We do have students who are only taking online classes, which that's fine. I mean, if you think about, my own child, especially during COVID, when things weren't even offered, there were a couple of semesters that he was here that they only offered the classes he needed online. So, I think there's always going to be, most of those were through the community college. Actually, all of them were through the community college, but you know, we have those that take a combination of things and aren't physically present on campus. I would recommend against that, but if you have a kid who has a special talent, years ago, I had a student that played semi-professional tennis. And so he was being trained and all of his classes were online. So if we can accommodate families, we will, as best as possible. And usually those are, you know, great kids that perform in other ways that they don't necessarily need a lot of the wraparound supports that we offer, although we would offer it to them too. So 41 is. So do you all want to add as far as if they're enrolled half-time, so for E?
I think so.
Mhm. I think that's consensus.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's fair for us.
Or more half-time. And then G, what was added? 20 in changing section G to reflect the State Board of Education authority over athletics. And it's not just residency requirements for athletics. They also have to have had earned certain credits, and you can't come in and out for athletics. So for example, if you come first semester because you're a soccer player, and then second semester you go homeschool again, once that happens, I don't think you have the ability to re-enroll. You have to stay concurrently enrolled for athletics. So, but that's also in a different handbook for athletics, not necessarily in policy, because those things change.
How can we make them?
Well, you really can't
They
because,
just wouldn't be allowed to play like next time.
yes,
Almost like a dead period.
yeah, it's like a dead period. Yeah, you can't have that type of a dead period. Well, and then on top of that, there's attendance requirements. So you really have to maintain that consistently once you're enrolled. However, you know, I wouldn't necessarily put it in this policy because they've changed their mind on attendance from an athletic standpoint, a couple of times in the last couple of years, saying different things. So we'd always be trying to catch up on that. You guys good with 4120?
Sounds like it. Yep.
So the next one. So is 5070/7350. And this is Amy's expertise. With us going through public records, retention, release, disposition. We field a lot of these public requests all the time. And it's usually vendors sending out mass things, wanting all of our teachers' information and.
Usually, most of what we receive, we're very fortunate. Most of what we receive are marketing employees. Marketing employees, like people trying to market to our teachers.
Yeah, I've had several those lately.
So,
I think there's a lot of wiggle room in this one. The law says you have to comply.
You think there's not a lot of room, right?
For sure.
So,
And in fact, we have to, it just about kills me every year pay what we have to pay to keep this documentation in a searchable format. It is ridiculous.
It's a lot of money.
What kind of a format?
In a
Searchable.
searchable format, yeah.
So when you look at 50 slash 70, it's the changes that are in here are required. So
I don't see a point in wasting time on something we
If
can't
it's
change.
required.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's for
Are there any wiggle room at all in this one?
the public records, no, not to my knowledge. We've got everything. We don't really have anything that's outside of what they probably couldn't find readily online. We just don't have it put together in a place that would be easy. And most of these requests, again, are just their title, their position, how long they've been in that position, that kind of thing, which it takes some time to pull together. But it's nothing that's not public. So therefore, we have to give it to them.
Do we have any training on FERPA other than, do we have any training at all for our folks on FERPA?
We do.
Yeah.
When do we do that?
We do it at sometime in the beginning of the year, we've been to all the schools
And you conduct that FERPA?
for my confidentiality.
Well, that and it's also on vector. So every year they do it in their vector training that they have to go through. But for confidentiality, 100% is there. And Susan went out to every school individually to remind them.
We're also required to post our FERPA regulations. on the
Yes,
website.
correct, which we do. And even for EC, that's also given out to parents at their meetings and stuff. So some of them get it multiple times.
Everybody good with that one?
Don't sound like we got a choice.
No.
No.
Please.
Unfortunately. So the next policy is 6340. And this is essentially part of it is background checks and what we have to do. There's actually a state list for us contracting with like a tour company that's going to, what's that?
It's an approved, school bus.
School bus list, and so we have to go through that all the time. So you can't just, hey, call up a tour company and arrange a tour. It has to be through an approved list because they go through all the background, criminal history check, et cetera. Now with employees that are ours, we have a pretty extensive background check. So, but anyway, and then liability coverage, they have to have their liability coverage, et cetera. So
there's no changes on
no,
this one?
I mean, there are, but it's nothing that it's
Yeah.
required.
Okay,
It's
so then can we go on the next?
I mean,
requiring the criminal history check.
well, and we already do it. So this is, to me, even some of the things are strongly recommended as far as the type of check, but to me, we do it anyway.
Gotcha.
So how much money do we allocate every year for these?
I don't know it depends. I mean, we have to pay it any time that we do it, but I don't know the exact number.
It's expensive. So I'm a-
$35
Per person.
$35 per person probably. So every time we hire somebody or even when we're trying to, we have several people we've not hired because their criminal history has come back. So, and then like when we contract even with certain vendors, if they're going to be working during the day with kids, they have a background check. The companies are supposed to have a extensive background check before they can work in our schools anyway. But
We go above.
We go above, yeah, we go above and beyond.
And I don't remember if it was this one or not, but I remember reading through in one of these that you had to redo criminal checks.
It wasn't
Every
this
3
one.
years.
That's one I was looking at. Anyone who worked with the kids had to be redo
Done
another
every 3
criminal check
years.
every 3 years.
That's a good.
That's not this one, but I.
No.
There's one that I looked at, I didn't know. if
It's in
it was this
this, it's in this group,
It's the,
That can be really expensive.
4120, I believe I put it down.
that's
4120,
residency
what is it?
requirements, that's not it.
That one.
Pre-K has to.
It's pre-K. It's pre-K.
Pre-K has to have it every 3 years.
But it
Okay.
didn't say pre-K, it said anyone working with children. Where is that one at? I know what you're talking, it's under number F.
Criminal background check, so they can go beyond the services. And that runs about 2650.
Well, this particular policy here is specific with transportation,
Right.
so.
That one's one
It's
one of
probably
the others I
it's
read.
probably
I haven't
7,500.
Two yet.
Recruitment and selection of personnel, there you go.
Yeah, it notes
Criminal
that
history.
7,100 in that.
So, so the criminal history, so reporting of arrests, charges and convictions. And of course, any person who is working for us has to report it to their direct report, which eventually makes it to Dr. Moken and myself, other than a traffic ticket or something lesser than a traffic ticket. They must report the alleged violation within 24 hours. So, or if they've been jailed within 24 hours of their release,
But haven't we had, these are supposedly new, have we not had that one before?
oh yeah, no, these are not new policies. These are policies that we
that
already
changed.
have.
Recently
on.
updated.
These are the ones that
Okay.
have to be updated by law, and the actual law, it adds language clarifying the legal standards and statutory information about the criminal history check. So these are
Our bus drivers are all, DHHS, criminal background check also for years because they transport.
Mhm.
and that's the highest standard of background check that they do. I mean, that's pretty extensive.
Just for me being a newbie, does a bus driver get is their background check more in depth than, say, a substitute teacher or somebody that comes in?
No, I mean, we have
They
this,
go through DHHS, yes, because it goes back. through,
correct.
A deeper search about his state. Stuff.
Okay.
Also, it hits the sex offense, it hits any type of criminal offense, felony or, other.
Okay.
And then they're registered with the state down at the Department of Health and Human Services. And they contact us and they're on the registry there that we have to make sure that we keep up with and gets monitored every year to make sure that everybody's up to date. And we have to show them, when they come twice a year, like, one of us, we have to show them our baseline check to make sure that we're keeping up with everything.
And we require background checks, even if they are coming from another school system. We background check everybody.
How much does that cost us a year on average?
And
Just
I don't know, it's,
just curiosity.
Cause I think doesn't PTO, like people that's part of PTO, don't they have to go through a background check if they volunteer at a school or something like that?
so there is a,
There's different levels.
there are different levels. So if
Okay.
you have any chance of being alone with a child,
Gotcha.
which most of them are not, but that's the same background check that we could do for our employees.
Gotcha.
If they're just coming in to eat lunch with their kid, not.
Right.
So,
Even contractors, they have to provide, if they're sending, like we had switches put in a couple weeks ago, even if it's after hours. They had to provide background checks on anybody who's gonna be coming into our schools.
Perfect. Okay.
$1,500 for every 3 years for a DHHS.
that's just the
1,500.
pre-K.
That's just pre-K,
pre-K.
right?
They've already gone through for school systems, criminal background, and that's bus drivers and substitutes they can teach for pre-K and pre-K teachers.
But that would be cheaper than any litigation you'd have to go through if something happened. So I mean, that's cheap compared to, you know,
Yeah, we just.
something.
Yeah.
I think it's better to be proactive.
So my guess is
Reactive.
probably $2,500 a year. It's probably how much we spend.
That's probably.
$35 a piece times,
And it keeps everyone.
you know, how many ever people.
And I have no objections to those charges. Those are minimal compared to what.
Okay, never mind. Dr. Milken said it's way more. That's a lot.
But that includes the drug screening. too.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say the drug strain. Is quite a bit too. Yeah, I was even thinking about the drug screening because that's separate. So it would probably be double what I said.
We totally went off this policy. Sorry.
That's okay.
Let's bring her back. Let's bring her back.
These are good questions.
So everybody good with that one?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
So the last one on this one is 7820.
Oh, we skipped 7,100.
No,
Yeah,
that's what we just did.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that.
That was, yeah. So this is personnel files. And the this one is language. It's just in the first paragraph that really changes. It adds language in the first paragraph, clarifying the legal standards. It also adds some statutory information on the background checks that was updated in the other one. And then there are a couple of them that are recommended. If you'll go down to C, under C, it's placement of records and personnel file. It reorganized the way that it was put in here. It's essentially the same information, but some of them are submitted immediately, and some of them, if there's a plan of improvement, it may be held in a separate file, for example, but it is for documentation purposes. So maybe just not included in their permanent personnel file. So if you have a beginning teacher that needs a little bit of extra, you might not put something directly in there, but it might go in the next one if there is a next one. That way it doesn't stay with them forever.
Can the employees see their personnel files?
Yeah.
Do they have to sign off on anything that goes into the personnel?
Typically, we have them sign a
Like a
letter.
letter of complaints
Yes.
or,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've
Absolutely.
heard of.
Now, that doesn't, if they refuse to sign, it still goes in there anyway. But they refuse to sign, they probably won't make it very much longer. So, yeah, well, you know.
Do me a favor, that bothers me that C is on one page and all the information is on the other page if I were.
I was already
Maybe
looking at
D.
that. Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see what we can do about spacing.
Yeah, that bothers me, because it needs to be with the information, not if they're floating around by itself.
Trying to find it quickly, I just went
Mhm.
right past it and I
I
saw
did, I
that.
had to
Well,
go back 2 times.
That'll actually correct the next one down D. It shouldn't pop it to the next page.
That D does the same thing.
But if they
Yeah.
hit C down,
But if you put
Oh.
C down,
It'll
it'll
put
put
D
D
down.
down.
Automatically fix the rest of it.
Maybe this one was the one I had a question on F. I don't know. What about my days?
I don't see a need for anything further on that one.
so nothing else really changed except for those
Yep.
reorganization and that new
I'll
sentence.
bring those to, no, there is a new section G about, stuff that's posted online, and it's already posted online, so. We're already in compliance, even though it was not reflected in the policy. So,
So an employee shouldn't be surprised by anything that's in their file
shouldn't
at
be.
all. They should be informed that this has happened and this is.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
No one else should be looking at the
Correct.
employee or maybe you.
And they're double locked.
The only people that really have access would be their immediate supervisor, the
Right.
employee, and Susan and I. Nobody else has access to it.
I seen in there
I don't think
somewhere,
anybody wants access to it.
I seen in there where they could put somebody's name down if they wanted to. Where was it? It was under D. Let me see. Hold on. The following persons may be permitted to access personal file with, wait a minute, let me find it. Oh, an employee can give written consent to the release of his or her records,
Correct.
but nobody else like can get into it.
Correct.
Probably to a lawyer.
Unless
It's
it's
an
court
attorney.
order or something like that.
Yeah, well, and the board attorney has access to it, so if there's ever
Mhm.
question.
Okay.
Fred's heard more than he wants to hear.
Sure.
Sure, that's true.
All right, is that it for that one?
That's it.
Okay.
So if we're good, we'll bring those to, with the minor corrections, and then also the kind of bigger correction to the 1310, and then the other two, which we'll go through in a minute, because we'll bring that to the December meeting. So the next under the 3000s policies for update, we have quite a few of them, and those are in that folder where you can give feedback, comments, but most of these are in the policies with minor changes. And then, no, I'm sorry, wrong one. We did all those minor changes.
Yeah.
It was,
did.
hold on. It was the substantive changes, yes. So that would have been the first thing under box.
That won't take me to the lake. See if I can get.
We start at 3,000?
So we would start with 3,200.
Gotcha. Yeah, we went through some of those.
We
last
went
time.
through some of them. So we will start with, and I tried to put them in numerical order on the, it won't show up that way in the, I think they show up at the end, going up to the beginning, depending on how, but you can reorganize it when you get into the folder itself.
We're gonna look at 3,200.
So, 3,200, through 3,640. See if I can get it. So 3,200, that this particular one is, selection of, instructional materials. But this one, really reflects the biggest change is textbook to reflect the definition change of what a textbook is, because that could include
I can't get into the
technology, materials, and there were some minor updates, meaning just editorial, and then legal and cross references are
Is
updated.
it your same passport on the same day? No.
It's not. Google and Simile are the physical things. It's not letting me at the drive.
Are you signed into your Ashe County Schools
I'm hoping.
account?
I usually keep
Amy's
them very
coming to help.
separate.
Amy to the rescue.
She can fix anything.
It's want me to use, yeah, I'm in the right account.
I was gonna say, sometimes I have user error issues too.
As you log into your other, should be the same as your other. Office 365.
Yeah, and then it has Issa Cox, which you might have included.
Now, we changed that.
That's what I
We
mean.
changed the other one, remember? Hang on.
Under selection of
Remember when we changed that,
instructors.
just something about soccer?
On down.
Yeah.
Are you?
Okay. 3,200.
3,200.
I don't even have it on
There's
the
no
list,
danger.
so I don't know where I'm at.
Oh, it's in a different folder.
Go back to your
Go back.
emails, right?
Well, no, it's in a, I want to touch that screen so bad.
See, here's my
It's in
Google.
a, you've got
That's
here
what
and it's the policies with.
So that's your home.
I have not seen that screen at
But you
all.
gave me like something that's solid. And I've never had to use it since.
Do the 3-finger roll up, see if it.
No, she's in the Google.
But now, yeah.
So
Amy,
Yes.
Miss Ford, we're trying to get her to this screen
I
where she can see all the
can't find that
folders.
folder.
She's in there.
How do I get to the folders?
It showed me at home, but it won't let me do it here.
Did you make it bad? Did you make it bad?
I have a tendency to do that.
That's where you went in it.
I don't. see
Yeah, I
it.
think so.
Okay, let me see. I
Policy
put it in here
substantive
somewhere.
changes, is that it? I thought we just did those.
Substantive changes, no, that
We did
we,
part of them.
we've done part of them, but we
Okay.
ended.
There, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we
Our
did
boys
that
do
several
Oh.
of them
have
in-
very little.
According to my notes, we did 3,200.
well, but remember it was pulled at the last.
Oh, that's right.
I
Sorry.
asked-
I was looking at my notes. Sorry. I skipped last meeting's notes. So yeah, gotcha.
Well, where I'm at,
Sorry.
I'm seeing the summary sheet, but I'm not seeing the actual policies. I'm seeing the summary of what each policy is and the changes needed.
So you need to, I'll show you.
Thank goodness for this. Okay, let's just change it.
Hop along.
Should I go ahead and just change it?
This is
No,
where
no,
she
the
could-
back.
Colonel West has one on too.
Okay,
Really?
so.
I went by to pick up
Matter what.
All right, I think we've got everybody back up. I think we've got everybody back up.
Teacher's voice.
I don't have one.
Make sure that our.
I was able to get
No,
hotel
no, I'll take my voice later.
information.
So.
Information. I'm saying works out just fine.
Okey doke, we'll get back to it.
You need it.
We've only got till 6.
Okay, let's go.
Let's move it, people.
We're done at 6. Going home at 6.
Me too.
Have we got all the computer specs?
I think we've got all the technology up to date. So we're on policy 3200. No. They're taken care of.
We're paused.
Yeah.
That's good.
So we took a little recess there, technology recess. And we're back and we're at policy 3200.
Okay, that was the one that I asked to be pulled again because I just wasn't happy with how it read. And no personal anything intended to anybody sitting in this classroom. But as a national board certified teacher, I'm going, okay, so you're telling me that I've got this group of children here who have all these needs. And I have my standards over here, and it's my job to pull those students from there to meet the standards or exceed the standards if I can, to get as close as I can. But I don't have the right to say I can use this material or this material. I have to go, what about those teachable moments? I was thinking of all those folks that I've tried to help to get their national boards. And I can just say, oh, well, I did lesson number 29 in Wit and Wisdom. That's what I did because it is so scripted. And part of it's my personal bias against those scripted materials. I get that. I'm trying to get past that. But at the same time, this needs to be simplified. There needs to be teacher input more in this. And I look at the high school, none of theirs is that way. They're lucky to even have a textbook. So they're coming up with their own, they are using supplementary materials all the time. Are we applying this, will we apply this policy equally to those folks that don't have textbooks? I'm thinking about 5th grade science books. Those things are older than, not quite as old as I am, but some of my students that I had that have grandchildren now, they're old. They're having to supplement a lot of that. Do we take those materials and have them approved by a committee and have them supplemented? Do we have time for that? Do we have enough teacher, do we have enough planning time for that? Do we have enough, or are they expected to do it at home? I see Dr. Cox nodding her head yes, but
I've never been able to do everything at home. I mean, I take my stuff home and have since.
well, I do too, but things have changed. I see Julie there. Julie, I know took it home. I know Casey we took it home. I know Polly took it home. Probably Janet took it home. But at the same time, are we making it more difficult for these folks to do the things they need to do when we have to go, what is I think we finally agreed it had to be the school improvement plan. Well, who knows more about my class than me? It's the knowledge of the students. It's the knowledge of where we are and what we need. So there needs to be a compromise in here somewhere about how this supplementary materials, is it a whole learning unit? Or is it, oh man, they had the neatest thing on nebulas last night and can we use that teachable moment kind of thing? So I think it needs to be better defined on what's considered a supplementary material and when those supplementary materials may be used. And I would like to see the process of what a teacher would have to go through in order to have that done. Am I making any kind of sense here at all, folks? I just think that this policy is very cumbersome. It doesn't answer those questions for me. I agree that and I also agree that some of us are more, selective in the supplementary materials that we might use. And that some folks who may not have as much experience or who might need more guidance or who may, for whatever reason, may need more structure. But, I'm thinking in the term, and I'll give you,
Yeah.
in just a second, please let me get all this out, and then I appreciate your patience. But at this point, where do we quit trusting our teachers and not let them serve our students as they think they should? Where's the balance? And I looked up fidelity, Casey. I looked up fidelity, and that word means loyal too. It doesn't mean scripted. So I'm wondering, and I know why the textbook company wants us to do it that way, so they can say they're the reason for the improvement. But I've done my research, and teachers are the number one reason students improve, not materials. So if we're going that materials are the most important thing, and I as a teacher am not to be trusted to do the right things for my students. And yes, there should be guidance. And that's what Dr. Moken is doing a very good job of, is providing that guidance and providing those structures where new teachers learn how to do these kind of things. But what about our experienced teachers? Do we trust them or do we not? And at what point do we trust them? Have we had any conversations with them about this policy? Did they tell you what materials to use, Polly?
No, but the state has a curriculum guide, and
I'm not
state-
saying we
No,
shouldn't
wait,
follow
let
the
me finish.
curriculum
The state
guide.
has a curriculum guide, and for 10th grade, they had a reading list, because I've been through book banning with 10th grade students. So and if it's on, they have a reading guide, they have the curriculum guide. And obviously you're going to choose things that are pertinent to what the child's using. I mean, I didn't feel any kind of worry about picking things out that would supplement when I read Night or My Forbidden Face or whatever I chose to read.
Right.
The only book I was told by Miss Hale, what was her name?
Yeah, Kathy.
Kathy was, when I first moved over to the high school, one of the books she says, please don't read Beloved, because the students are not sophisticated enough to read Beloved, even though she had taught it at Beaver Creek. But I had to put my books together with what I had from the 3 high schools. And I said, when I was told by a student I couldn't teach Genesis out of my 10th grade book, and it was in the 10th grade literature book that I was given by the State Department to teach it. I said, well, just watch me do it. We're going to do it as Jewish literature. And you're going to have a test on it. So pay attention. I mean, I never did fear that I was going to get to anything other than I had a couple of parents complain about how flight on the Western Front of all things, because it had the word damn in it. I mean, I never, and of course they had the people in the media center had filters, I guess, on it, because you surely cannot get to a doll's house. Let me tell you, if you do, you don't want to go there.
Right.
But you can get there if you put a doll's house written by Ibsen, So I mean, this never bothered me. If you're talking about AP or something like that, you have to make a program for them. I mean, last year I was there, you cannot teach AP unless you made them a complete itemized and listed program of what you were going to teach and how you were going to teach it. And they had to see you make the okay for it. So, I mean, I'm a board certified teacher in English too, and I never worried about what I taught. I mean, I wouldn't be foolish now if a kid came to me, and I had one came to me and said, I can't read Siddhartha. My parents said I can't read it because it's Hinduism. Okay, that's okay. I'll give you another book. Why fight it? Teacher next door.
And we by law have to do that.
Yeah, and it's true. And aren't most of the things down where parents can see them if they want to see them? And had Joe Martin came running to me one day and said, I have a student that can't read Macbeth because there's 3 witches in it. And I said,
Couldn't go to the cemetery.
But that's okay. Give the child something else to read. Why are you worried about it?
There's
Yeah.
multiple examples of where under this ruling, could not have when I was teaching, bring in supplemental materials, like I brought in a whole shelf of cookbooks. And I brought in little children's reading books for my child development students to practice reading with feeling so that young children would be engaged, that kind of thing. I didn't have any restrictions like this where I had to get everything approved through. I'm assuming this means anything you bring in that's not on the state standard, you're going to have to get approved. That seems kind of restrictive, but in our new culture, it's also safety based. And so I think although it would be more difficult for a person to at the last minute decide this would work really well with a lesson plan for, I think one of the ones, for example, when I was teaching parent and child development, family life cycles, I brought in the newer version of the family merging of two military families to have 20, like 19 kids. One had 9 and one had 12 kids or something like that. And the students were watching the movie and making evaluations of how difficult it is to do a blended family. What were the problems? How did they solve them? That kind of thing. But I didn't have to get approval for it. Today, I think we need more stricture. I don't know if it needs to be this strict or if we need to put an exception in there to allow for some. But I can see the pros and cons, and I understand where Diane's coming from because I know I didn't have to do this when I taught. That goes back a long time.
You have to be careful because teachers are very unwise in bringing in movies to show that are not appropriate.
Yeah.
That should not be brought from home. You should never bring a movie from home to show in schools, my personal opinion. It should come from the media center. I mean, because you can get in trouble really quickly.
And even with that, you better have read it and watched the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, you better wait.
I would, yeah.
You need to read what you're going to teach before you teach it.
I think the thing is, and I get where you're coming from, we're all older, and we definitely are not disrespecting veteran teachers. In fact, we honor them, we need them, they bring them to our county. And that's why we involved everybody, because back in the day, I know we had committees, and I was on one time, and it was 3 of us who chose the whole textbook for the whole school. That's really not fair. And so I think I disagree. I don't think wit and wisdom is scripted at all. To me, it is definitely not. I think the ones who feel that way, it's such a change for them that it's hard, and we've recognized that. Now, do I think Letterland integrity is? Yes, because it has to be. If it's not, it would not work at all. So I think just historically, anytime we try something new, or any kind of, if a program, even though Wit and Wisdom's not a program, people feel that it locks them down. But in my opinion, I think they still have a lot of freedom in that, the way they deliver that, because I agree, I think Casey, everybody in here would say, with the curriculum, that's not ever what's going to do it. It's never going to be our ready wit and wisdom, big ideas, math. It's always going to be what that teacher does with it. Mm-hmm. So I really wish my kids would have had the wit and wisdom curriculum, because if so, they both would be better writers. They both would have more content. They both, and this just, and we've heard from parents, because we had those 17 or 19 days, and a lot of the complaints where they don't know things like they used to know. And the high school teachers will say they're just not coming to us knowing that background. And I'm not criticizing teachers, because I know they work hard. But what was happening, I think why we needed this consistency, number one, is the law, but because we also saw evidence of, I totally understand it, because I was tested in 2 subjects. Teachers they were teaching reading excerpts, and that's not teaching reading. And I know you hate that too, teaching to the test. Why did they do it? They feel the pressure. They're color coded. I mean, I understand full 100% why they do that. I've had tests on my name, and I want to look good. I want my kids to do well on them. But standards were being skipped. We had teachers, Diane, not teaching math in lower grades, not even teaching math. And that's when we let them do what we want to do. And so we need to hold not only Ada Leda fidelity, but we need to hold science, and we need to hold math, and we can't skip standards, because even though maybe in 3rd grade or 4th grade, writing is not tested, it sure is when they get older. And really, if we don't get those foundational skills taught in K and 1, then we have really hurt. students' livelihood. This is, I mean, I take it that serious. It is their livelihood and we have to get them literate. And I don't think we can leave it to chance. And I think, you know, being the federal program director probably really drilled this in my brain that we have to provide for every single Ashe County student equity. And so how do we do that? We allow teachers to work together so that the veterans, well, I'll use Emma Sexton. She was a veteran, I was new. We helped each other and we worked brilliantly together. I'm not bragging, but we did because of her expertise and my new ideas. We blended those and we worked together and we did the same things. And I just want to see that environment for all our grade levels.
I'm not complaining about wit and wisdom per se. It's just that I do think it's inappropriate for kindergarten. I won't change that, but I do like a lot of the aspects of wit and wisdom, and I'm always about the standards. What I'm concerned about is this makes it very hard for me to pull in. Dylan, for example, my Dylan, he did not give me a hard time. He did everything I asked him to do. He went down the hall and gave him an absolute teetotal fit, and I asked him why. And he said, because you bring me chicken books and you let me read about chickens. He was very brilliant, but he was as brilliant students normally are. They're consumed with one thing at a time. But we've got to develop those student interests as well. There's got to be a balance here. I agree with you. But if we get too much, oh, it's got to be this, and this, then we lose that creativity. We lose those teachable moments. We lose that knowledge of students that makes that student want to learn more. And so I think there's a balance there we need to get to. I'm not sure this does it. That's why I would like for us to look at this again. Have any teachers seen this policy? Have we had any input from other folks in this policy, or are we, as people who don't have a classroom sitting here, you know, we're not looking at it? Are we looking at it through the eyes of people that we're going to have to implement this on? And we're going to have to do it equitably too. We can't just focus on those beginning skills and make sure that those beginning skills are important. Those biology skills are important too. And that's always been an area that we've struggled in Ashe County is biology on the test, not necessarily in the classroom, but on the test. So, and I don't believe in teaching to the test at all. If I could get rid of it today, we would have the bonfire probably in this room. But, you know.
We would all join you on that one.
I'm sure you would. So, you know, my goal is much bigger than that. And my goal is also to keep them engaged. And Terry, I've had parents call me and say, they're not doing anything with my kid till it gets to flex time. Because those teachers, maybe it's we need to, and I did go to some presentations during the board conference about literacy. That's where I was focused on. And they did say, wait till the third year. The third year is the magic year. That anytime you implement a new program, it takes at least 3 years for it to filter out and for folks to get comfortable, to folks to see where they need to adjust, that kind of thing. But I'm not sure our folks feel like they can adjust.
If I can ask a question here, this is focusing this section, I think, on supplementary material that we're addressing. With supplementary material, is there a procedure process that teachers are informed and trained in that they have to follow before they can bring in supplementary, to bring it in for approval or check? Or are you limiting outside material coming in, which with the internet, I don't know how you can limit completely.
Well, it's a good point that you bring up. So I would like us to consider using the term high quality instructional materials. That has been all over the place. It's in legislation for literacy. It's in MTSS guidance from the state. If you look at our literacy plan, our math plan, our matrices for our EC, we have to have high quality instructional materials. It's not a choice. Now, your choices within that, as a teacher, you use your data to drive what you choose, whether your curriculum or your program or whatever that instructional move is gonna make. But it has to fall into a category of high quality instructional materials. So we do have standard treatment protocol, so to speak, for MTSS, reading, math, for all the way K-12 for math, I know for sure. For reading, we don't until we get to sixth grade.
What about things like CTE and history and social studies and science and civics?
All of those.
So CTE has a very structured program, and their curriculum is pretty much, you do this at this time, and this is when, because you're looking at life skills and credentials that they have to meet. And so, in fact, sometimes it's modules, and that's what they do. And it depends on the class. So for example,
Each class is really unique.
it's very unique.
I know.
And those standards get rewritten about every 2 to 3 years because
I've been involved in that where it was a regular process, and it is more detailed than what the academics get. But I was still bringing in things that I would see that would fit the lesson that weren't in the school. They were valuable instructional tools to help them see real life in.
I think that's a
Situa-
great
but I-
point. I don't know that that's supplemental as much as maybe an example, like, I was talking to Lee Roden the other day in the C unit. She had found something off of a discovery site that lets them go in dark under the ocean. She went, it sounded awesome. The kids loved it. To me, that's an example of her enrichment or enriching. It's an example of something to pull in. I don't look at that as supplemental. So- and sometimes
Because it's
I
not
think what teachers do.
instructional.
Yeah, we're not, I don't, and that would be taking away their autonomy completely. I
Yeah.
think there's a misunderstanding there. If they're thinking that they can't, those little things, I can make an anchor chart look any way I want. I can give an example, my analogies, my talents of being a language arts teacher or a lover of social studies, whatever it might be, or the way Josh Church can manipulate his math because he fully understands that content. I don't think that's supplemental. I think what's happened and where this law came in that prompted this to be written, I'm pretty sure I can infer that, definitely the Parent Bill of Rights, but where we, like that worksheet you found that you thought was a very appropriate, that was probably off teacher pay teachers. And teacher pay teacher, it sounds like it's a great thing because I'm a teacher and I'm creating things and I'm putting it on there and I get to sell it and make money. But in the old days, we just gave that to each other for free because we helped each other.
Exactly.
And I'm not, I wouldn't be overcritical or judgy about that, but sometimes that stuff is not that good. It's not research based. We can't prove it. I can't prove it. So if Earl's a teacher at Sugarloaf Elementary and he goes and buys that and uses that, I can't defend him if a parent gets mad at him. I didn't say, that's not something that I don't agree with. I agree with the parent here, So it's part of their protection too, I feel like. And I feel like supplemental became core. And so they know they're core. Core is core. You do it. That's just the way it is. Supplemental is to enrich. And so I'll give you an example of just how this happened naturally. They love this program called Frax and Reflex, which is a math program, and they all ask for it. So in a sense, that's an informal way where they come and they ask for it. And now that we see all 3 elementaries love it, we're going to see if we can get a better price for it and do it as a district. Whereas if I'm a teacher and let's say I'm just gonna make it.
Excel.
Yeah. That's not my favorite one because it's been abused. So there are some programs that because they are abused or misused, they become ineffective, like iReady did. I loved iReady to start with. I thought it had good merit to it. But then it became this overused, misused program. And by the time they got to middle school, they were going to create t-shirts that said down with iReady. They will mob you. They weren't going to do it anymore. And that's a shame, but that's what happens if we don't monitor and keep everybody in the same mindset, not thinking alike as far as examples, but there's so many reasons behind it.
I'm
And I do
thinking,
feel like where people took the supplement and
Made it the core.
replaced it and made it the core.
Casey, could you talk about the PSEs and when you guys are actually talking about what that looks like and perhaps with wit and wisdom? I know that I observed, it was in, well, should have been there longer, but it was not a good day for the middle school. But can you talk to, or share with them what that looks like and how we're providing that guidance so that we still get the rigor in the classroom and that we are talking about the purpose of those high quality instructional materials, but also the strategies that are used within the lessons?
So usually with PLCs, whether I'm leading it or the school instructional coach or specialist that's leading it, what we're really trying to do is dig into data. We're looking at that progress monitoring, benchmarking data, whether it's reading, math, science for fifth grade, especially, but we're looking at the data to drive the instruction. And so the instructional specialists and I work together with those teams, and they're looking deeply at their progress monitoring data. They're making goals, and they're saying to themselves, okay, if we have this many kids that are not showing progress, or this many students that are in red and yellow, that is a core issue that we have to change what we're doing in our core using our instructional strategies. And they do need to be within a boundary of, is it high quality? Is it evidence and research based? And they have those conversations as a team of what that looks like. When our coaches come in for the curriculum for Wit and Wisdom, she specifically worked with kindergarten at Mountain View that day because we were working in tandem that day. Tabitha was working with kindergarten that day, really helping her try to figure out, okay, how do I differentiate for this group? I'm seeing this information, this is what the kids are doing, now how do I reach them this way? And they did a really good job trying to use their data, use observational data, use the formative assessment data, and try to figure out how do we make sure in the moment teachers understand how to make an instructional move that is a high quality, research-based move. And that's where our coaches come in. They are really good at that, and they help teachers daily make those instructional moves and know what to do with their materials.
One of the things that I've been reading through further down in this policy, and most of this stuff, supplementary material in point 2, is referring to things that are going to be purchased to become a permanent part. And then you get down to what I think resolves some of these issues is item 3, materials brought in by teachers. Principals shall establish rules concerning what materials may be brought in by teachers without review. And principals are encouraged to involve teachers in establishing those rules. I think that solves the problem if we read down that far. So long as teachers are made aware. I was never even told I had policies I had to follow when I first started teaching in the 70s. So, you know, we have to make sure our teachers are informed.
Well, and some of them, they didn't exist.
No, they didn't.
what, do we have those rules about things that are brought in already, or is this just new to this
Well, I think it would
policy?
be to the schools. I don't think it should be in the policies because elementary
No,
is going
I
to have
don't-
totally different needs.
I don't either. I'm just saying, do these things exist? And I think what I'm hearing is there's a disagreement about what supplementary means. And so
Yes.
that needs to be
clarified.
Yes.
Yes.
clarified in this whole business. I'm sorry, less is better. Is that if we could condense some of this and make it more user-friendly, please? It is, you know,
Which part would you like to, let's, would it help to start with like section A and then go down through and look? Like they added
Maybe.
digital instead of just textbook, so it could be textbook.
well, I think I'm looking
Or
at,
technology based.
I'm not looking at this compared to any other policy. I'm looking at this as a standalone that if this is the way we're going forward, because instruction has changed. We didn't do data points. We didn't have MTSS. And there are good and bad about both of those things.
And we have to do.
And I'm glad to see that we're incorporating something besides test scores, that we're doing observational information, because we always did it. We just didn't have to do it formally. At least good teachers did.
And one of the things in your textbook thing, textbooks are moving out. And as a textbook author, most of the people buying my textbook are buying licensures for the internet. It's the computer.
And that's where your media is gonna come in.
Yeah.
And your technology, because they need to be a part of that conversation.
And most of the supplemental that they ask for, particularly in the last 5 years, are digital supplemental, like the Prax and Discovery and.
And that is so ironic. On one hand, we're supposed to be decreasing.
I'm just wondering if there's some way they can make this less wordy.
Yes.
Yeah, things like that. So that's why I think tech, because even though it might be a great curriculum product, we have to make sure that it aligns and they have a contract with our state, because we have to ensure that we protect students' personal identifying information. And so there have been companies that, unless they got that, like Amy has to keep a watch on that until they get that signed and aligned with the state. We cannot do business with them.
I get it.
And so that's why they were on there to watch for that, and they're just part of it. But mainly, like it says, the committee shall be appointed by the principal, include teachers, instructional support staff. And we bring them in to advise and not in.
Well, and you're talking about core materials. And I think we're talking about things that can supplement the core from the teacher level. And so I think part of having a committee and what that looks like is we can't have a teacher saying, hey, I'm going to buy how many $1,000s worth of materials for my class. And then it's not well, but some of them might, or they're pulling teachers, paid teachers, or other things. We've seen it this year in trying to or, hey, I've read this book a long time ago, I'm going to use this book instead. Some of that might be good, but some of that also opens yourself up to criticism. But if you plan in advance, then you shouldn't have any issues with that. The problem, I think, is that definition, like you're saying, with supplemental. I mean, there's no reason why you can't see something on nebulas and bring it into your science class the next day. Because it was really cool and you know that it matches. There's nothing, but that can't be the core. You know what I mean? That
And
can't
I'm not
replace the
suggesting that it should
curriculum.
be.
Yeah.
If we look at the last, under number 1, the last sentence, the objectives for the selection of
Number
supplementary.
1B, okay.
Mine just says 1, where we at?
B1, sorry, or is it, I'm just making sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we could, I think we need to define supplementary right there.
Mhm.
And then if we could
Let's explain, it's defined above that, I believe.
including the Liberty Bill of, oh, maybe it is, I can't, this
There's
thing is
a
still
little
not doing
paragraph
what I need it
above
to do.
that explains what
Yeah,
supplemental materials.
It gives examples.
Yeah.
can we
They
say
are
that more
selected to
simply?
Complement, enrich, or extend the curriculum.
Can we just leave it there? It sounds like a justification for using the supplementary materials in the next one.
So this particular
Okay.
one, the objection, the A through F there actually come from, and I can send it to you. It's the guidelines for North Carolina Media and Technology Program. So these are the objections for the selection of those supplementary materials, and it comes directly.
But didn't we decide that the media committee would not be the one to approve the supplementary, that there would be another committee doing that had
So you-
teachers and
you-
other things?
Well, you would have
That
a
would be
couple
part
of
of
different
it.
people. It could be part of it, but we can't just have, we can't leave technology out of it because there are certain protections when you have students putting in their data.
When I've been rereading through this from a legal standpoint, although I don't like wordy, I think it's a very thorough list of the options and the availability, and in letting teachers, there's several places where it mentions teacher provided material that fits the needs of the class. And because of rapid changes, and it also mentioned something in there where it recognizes in this stat policy that flexibility is needed for last minute changes and things that the process can accomplish. So I think that it fits well, and the board lawyers have looked over it, and I agree that although I want it shorter, I don't know that you can with all of the different types of supplements that are out there and all the different kinds of processes.
I would say we trust our teachers. You know, for the most part, I mean, we do have some people every once in a while that go rogue. We have it, unfortunately, about once a year or so. And, but that's not the vast majority. The majority of the teachers sit in, they're still lifelong learners. They sit in PLCs, they share with other teachers, they plan together. I mean, I'll tell you, the first grade unit at Blue Ridge, and I'll brag on you all. I know I've bragged on them before, if any of them are watching. That first grade team is outstanding. They plan together, they reflect together, they look at their data together. You know, they work hard. They work hard, but I mean, they really do a great job of sharing the responsibility. And sometimes when you have, you know, people who haven't worked together before, so new teams, they're a pretty steady team. So once you get the team developed, they, you know, it's a little bit easier of a lift than it is when you don't work together or haven't, when you haven't worked together like that before, because you have new people within an veteran or novice. But there is room in here for them to add or extend. I mean, if you've got a kid that, you know, that has the core material and they don't need to be reading, you know, Bob sat down, and they need to be reading a chapter book. There are ways for them to do that, but also still get the basics of the curriculum that need to be taught, so that it's not just reading, but they're also reading for comprehension and are asking the right questions. Like, I think there's room for it, but I do think we need to define it better and make sure that our principals are reiterating what that process is. But that should be through like the planning, like they turn in the lesson plans, you know, a week before, and what that looks like. But that's the core is the core. It's the other things that I think that we're talking about. And I think that's an easy remedy once people understand what that is.
And I would like to see with item 3 under B, principals shall establish rules concerning what materials may be brought in by teachers without review. Principals are encouraged to involve teachers in establishing these rules. If they have set rules and they're passing it out of the packet they give teachers at the beginning of the year, so the teachers understand you have flexibility, but there's these guidelines we want you to be sure to follow. And that's going to vary with the different schools, so I wouldn't want to see any more than that at this point in that policy. But that does give principals an assignment.
Well, and I think we need to, from a consistency standpoint, make sure that each of those principals have a very similar process, because what happens at one school, well, why do they get to do that instead? You know, whatever's going to work for them now, and everybody has consistent people that are involved, which I think is important. But if it's going to include money to purchase something, then that's
a different thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, the school level, that's one thing, but if it's a district level purchase, then that, you know, brings something a little different. But that does give them room. A lot of, well, and I really feel like they have the room. I just think the uncomfortableness of change with a new curriculum for core is what, you know, once they're familiar with it, they feel like they can supplement differently.
I think too, just from a person who's been in this county forever, if they don't feel trusted, I think it's a lot of reasons. I think we've never held a curriculum to fidelity, and it's hard. Be a lot easier for me, Casey, just say, go for it. That wouldn't be right by kids, because we make our decision based on what's best for kids, and teachers know that. And we've told them they're the #1 factor. But I think a new curriculum, all the trauma with COVID and the hurricane, they all have new principles. They've all changed around, so there's new expectations there. The political climate we're in, where they're constantly seeing, it just, people are really critical of the teaching profession and they feel it all the time. They feel it from parents. And so and then the Parent Bill of Rights, I think it's so exaggerated that it made some of them feel like we can't do anything, but Parent Bill of Rights is really no different. We've always had that. Like Polly, you said when you taught, if they wanted a different book, a parent could say, I want a different book. I did that too. I'm sure Diane, Janet, we've all done that. So all those things combined, I think are making them feel that way. And I hate it for them. I wish I could fix it. But I think that's, and they're rule followers too. So I think some of it's been exaggerated. And I think defining what it is, telling the principals to have this talk, having that common language to make everybody understand it is probably what we need to do.
And Diane, you were mentioning from an implementation standpoint, you're right, 3+ years.
3+
If
years.
you're looking at implementation science of anything, doesn't matter if it's curriculum or if it's
Normal years.
yes. Or if you're in industry and you're trying to implement a new strategy in your business, it doesn't matter. The research behind it shows once you train, you have to follow up. You have to make sure that you are implementing with evidence-based strategies, evidence-based research, research-based quality materials, and you have to keep on it every day. And you have to follow up, you have to coach it in order to see that fruit 3+ years later.
But also, you need to keep in mind too, when I came through, everything that we were taught was research-based, evidence-based, but the evidence has changed.
It does change.
It's
It
changed.
has changed, you're right.
And we've got to make sure that we're supporting those folks as they go through these changes because they need support as well. But could we please condense some of that stuff there? Because some of it seems under that first thing where we got all the way down through it seems very similar to me. If we could combine some of that, maybe not so much lawyerese stuff, maybe more educational terminology there.
So these factors, Diane, now I just got this from earlier because I knew that question was going to be asked.
You don't know me that well, do you really?
Well,
Okay.
well, and me, I always think less is more, but Christine Schief shared that factors that are consistent with North Carolina Department of Public Instruction's recommendation criteria for selecting media and technology is outlined in impact guidelines for North Carolina Media and Technology Program. That's what those.
But this is not media and technology.
Well, it
Includes it.
It does include it, and
But
these
is
are.
it not somewhere else? Then we're talking about supplementary materials here.
And most supplementary materials now are digital.
And media.
Most of them are digital resources. Very few of them are paper pencil. And of course, we've gotten away from doing just a random worksheet. We really want them to turn and talk to the neighbor and use the whiteboard so that they're communicating so you can see if every child has it versus a worksheet that's not engaging. But I don't know that I don't know. I mean, that's what they're basing this information off of for the policy. I do think it gives teachers a good thing to think about, but we probably need to sit down once you guys, once this becomes policy, or whatever version of it, sit down and talk with them about what that is and then how it applies to them. I mean, that's, if there's confusion over language, we need to have that common language, which is very, very important.
For me, the only confusion about language was the supplementary. But this list, I think, gives the teacher all the things you have to think about before you decide you want to use this that could potentially be problematic. So I can't see, after reading through this 3 times, I think we need to keep these guidelines. You may be able to say it in fewer words in some of this, but like durability, manageability, clarity, appropriateness, skillfulness, organization, attractiveness. What are you going to take out when you're looking at content and you want to examine the physical? And And it's already been done, so why work? It's a bit wordy, but it, I think, is valuable.
So the other thing over the summer, we have our PLCs with teachers and they spend a lot of time working together, school to school. If, in the case of elementary school, which I think is valuable because they can share and learn from each other in that way and give input that way as well. But those PLCs, when they're meeting together, and then turning in their lesson plans. I know when I taught, which, seems to be in ancient days now. But my team and I planned together and we would turn in our lesson plans for a week or a month or however long it was. But if somebody didn't, or novice teachers, if they weren't quite as sure, we sat and practiced together during that time too. Hey, what do you mean by this? How do you manage this particular activity in the classroom? And I think our teachers are great. Like our experienced teachers are so valuable for a lot of that. And they're probably supplementary materials that they can bring to the table and say, hey, this would be good. And I think our young teachers would appreciate that so that they understand what's quality and how they can bring that into the classroom. I just think we need to communicate to them what that looks like and make sure that our principals, have the process for materials brought in by home, but most of them are turning in their lesson plans, every Thursday? Is that when we turn in our lesson plans?
Thursday at their day.
Oh, grades are due every Thursday. Lesson plans by Sunday, anyway, across the district, and that's a premium, prime time for them to be able to check for some of these if it's not out of the norm. So especially brought in by teachers.
We have a lot of conversations at PLC level.
Yeah.
About stuff like
Most
this.
of it's in the PLC.
Most of it is weekly conversations with their instructional specialists or coaches and having conversations about, well, I'm seeing this, what do you think I should do? This is not working. And then they have those professional conversations with one another.
And then we also, and that's core,
Yes,
but we
that's-
also have, tier 2 to help with, especially with the
Sure,
supplemental
but those also
materials.
have to be
But then we also have AIG and EC, and then we have pullouts of the kids who need special help in certain areas that might not be EC or AIG.
Well, I personally think this delineates everything, gives a teacher a safety net. It's there in detail because I don't know about now, I'm sure all the teachers, there's gotta be some teachers like I taught with that go their own way and they need this to stay on track and do a core curriculum. And we need to stick to that thing that's called rigor, which we have not been doing enough of. I'm sorry to say, we need
I
teachers
agree.
to just hang in there. The supplementary doesn't bother me. I mean, none of this bothers me. I think it's good. I wouldn't change it.
I don't have a dog in this fight. Josh and I just sitting here and listening to y'all, but as a parent, sitting here, listening that we could have this open discussion and see that we actually care what's going through our classrooms, that's affecting our kids, that if we don't touch this policy again for another 5 years, I don't know. The world that we're living in, you don't know what could come through the door. And so as a parent and as a school board member, I'm thankful that we could have this open discussion and that we can word it to where we can protect the teachers, give them, and I agree, give the definition of supplementary. And I think some things might need to be defined a little bit better and maybe they would understand it and maybe not be so offensive and be more open to it maybe. But as a parent, I just wanted to say, I'm glad to be part of this conversation. I didn't have a dog in the fight, but I'm glad to be.
You've got 2 kids in school.
There you go.
Wanted me to choose something random to teach grant with. You
No,
wouldn't have wanted me to do that.
no.
You would wanted me to choose something that was evidence and research based that aligned to exactly what you needed.
And in your class, he grew a lot more than in any other
It
classes.
just has to do with making those kind of
Exactly.
decisions.
And like Diane says, you might have 3 students here that needs focusing more on something like this, but it still gives the teacher, my understanding, still gives the teacher the ability and the freedom to do it the way
And we help them do that through professional development, through the summer, throughout the year. These are evidence and research-based strategies. Terry's doing it right now with high leverage practices. We have really tried to support teachers in what those practices, strategies, all those types of decisions that they know what is good quality instruction and where to choose from.
Can I also share too, I don't want to take up too much more time on this, but North Carolina Department of Public Instruction is actually going through a process to help the selection process for not just core materials, but what this would look like. They've reviewed 4 different states and they all have various things. I advocated to some of the people that were there for local choice in what those instructional materials are and look like so that we could keep it at the teacher level and keep it in an area that our kids will be able to enjoy those materials. What works in a bigger city is not going to necessarily work in Ashe County.
Right.
But things like core reading is core reading, right? I mean, phonics is phonics. But selecting the materials that are engaging for our kids might be very different than the selection of materials for somebody else's kids. So I'd like to keep that as local as possible and have it as teacher-based as possible. And we can talk about, you mentioned at the high school level, they don't have, well, they do have for reading, they have ELA, they chose
Mirrors and windows.
mirrors and
And I
windows.
do want to brag just a minute what they're doing. I really, and it's very middle school behavior, which is probably why I like it.
But it's really good.
Their English department, and now it's working, so it's starting to flow into the social studies, but Mr. Beckworth is their department chair, and so he has used AI to come up with well, really, they've been working on this for a few years now, but AI's made it easier, common formative assessments. And so they very much align freshman English to enhance those English 2, which is tested standards. And
Good results.
so they're looking at that as a group, and they got this little friendly competition, which we used to do that at middle school, and it was always just for fun. It wasn't serious, but that just kind of sparks you to want to do better. And so I really enjoy going to their PLCs. I think they really get along now and work together. And Josh presented that at the last PD. That was back in October. And now social studies wants to do it. So if we can get science on board, which we're trying, I suspect we're gonna be more aligned. They're seeing the need for it. It's a very different concept for high school to work together. Very siloed, it is. Polly, I know yours work to get English, it is what it is. But if you teach English 1 as opposed to English 4, your scaffolding, you're looking at different things. But I do see progress being made there. And I would love to find them a math textbook. If somebody would develop it, we would buy it. But nothing unless the North Carolina integrated math.
And that's one of the reasons why the state is actually looking at creating certain materials aligned to standards. And like I said, that's why I advocated for that flexibility for our people to be able to use examples and others. And that may be through some of the rubrics that they use in selecting those materials. So,
What states did they use?
okay, I think it was Colorado, Louisiana. There are 4. But they were all like deep into this developing their own because nobody can afford textbooks
So
anymore.
they didn't use another one state,
Which one?
Massachusetts.
They hadn't developed this process and actually, it was they said there's new data out from the NAEP that says Massachusetts is no longer the #1. So I'll have to look and see, but I'll find out who this for. I know that Louisiana and Colorado too. It might have been New Mexico and something else, but this was for developing materials.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
But you're right about keeping it local, and the state should have people to choose supplementary materials that back up their core curriculum. But the thing that I like that The last thing is principals, make sure teachers are not bringing things from home that are not appropriate, because that does happen sometimes. And sometimes it'll get by you and you don't realize what you're bringing if you're not privy to it.
And there's always been, I don't want to call it a threat, but every year there's a bill that's introduced that say, hey, we're going to have to post every single thing online. And that's impossible for our teachers to do. Nobody has that capability. We don't have the storage capability to do any of that. So we need to have some checks and balances on how those things come in, but at the same time, there's no way to 100% guarantee that for every, and, I think teachers do need some flexibility.
They do.
So,
We don't have any problem.
no, we really don't. I mean, when it comes, we don't have a whole lot of problems with, teachers and selecting materials.
Honestly, we are resource rich here
Yeah, we are.
compared to most districts that
Our
are.
teachers are doing that.
When
okay.
I'm at meetings, they are really surprised in a good way at how much we have.
We need to tighten the language.
Yeah, if we could take the first paragraph of this policy and tighten it up, and then I look at number 2. There's room there it's a little bit repetitive as well. If we could tighten that.
To where, under
Mm.
which letter?
B,
B, to
yeah, A for sure.
process.
You know. Anyway, it looks like there's several places that it's sort of repetitive, that we could tighten that language up and get it more, user-friendly. Is that the word I want to use? Words I want to use, I don't.
So what I'll do is I will see what, some of this is actually in statute. So of who has to do what, and then some of it probably can be really condensed. And so I'll check to see what that is and send it back out to you, if that's okay.
That'd be great.
Let's move along.
Yes, let's move.
Okay, that's good. We spent an hour on that. Here we go. Okay, what's next?
All right.
Selection of instructional materials
So-
and parental inspection and objection to.
So,
What number are you on?
3210.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so 3210, if you look at the cheat sheet, so to speak, clarifies that the reference to parent includes a legal guardian and certain other caregivers, which is required. Revises the process for parental review of materials to allow for the extension of time to provide the material due to volume or complexity of the request. Adds the reference to policy 3410, adds new state law requiring that all titles of all library books at the school be accessible through a catalog on the school's website homepage, and that parents be allowed to identify any library books that their student is prohibited from borrowing. And then there are legal references, and this is why, because of this section, as far as the instructional materials, this is one of the reasons why you have to be very careful of what you just bring in versus what we have as standard, so to speak.
Is this media catalog available? How much work is this adding to our media specialists' lives?
So that's
We've been
twofold.
working through that, and it's not good. It wasn't well thought out when that was put into place, because many of our teachers, especially our early elementary teachers, have huge collections of books that are there for, the kids to check out all the time. So what we have been working on currently is the media coordinators are confirming in those teachers, and most of them probably already have, which of those books that they have are already in their collection. So those are available.
They're on our website and on the school's website.
Destiny.
You can get there easily.
Other than that, there are some of course, some software companies have come up with programs that you can create, lists with. And then, yeah, it is. And then the other thing is, we're just encouraging teachers that they can check out 10, 12, out of our media center and take them to their classroom and do them that way. I can't say it's all bad. I understand, because we do have to be careful of, what's going home and what our children are reading. So that part, I understand the intention. It's just, it sure does put some, some barriers for students to be able to read.
And once the in-classroom libraries are all cataloged, it'll be much easier process. It's just a heavy lift in the beginning, but our media center, all of the titles that they are eligible for have been online and accessed through our website for years. So that's nothing new. And the best practice is just call the child's teacher and say, hey, what's my kid been reading?
And the other thing is, as teachers, we just got to better content.
But most of it is already online.
So will the administrative procedures to this be attached at some point?
We have to do, once the policy is approved, then we can develop the procedures.
Right.
Going to the next one? Or you change it? Oh.
And really hold on, can you get back there? What was that?
3210.
And some of the, like the procedures are already outlined right there in the policy. So parents submit an objection and writing to the principal, like it's already there. And we have a form for objection of materials that is typically it's online. Do you know where they can find it right now? We'll have to redo it to align directly, to make sure it aligns directly
We
with it.
usually send them that when it's requested. I mean, if they come to our principal, then or our media coordinator, then we send them that.
But like I said, we have one already in place. We'll just have to make sure that it's exactly aligned to this one. We get maybe
Very rarely.
once a year.
Maybe.
It's not very often. Okay, 3225, the real long one. Technology responsible use. So this particular policy was, is something we've had in place, but it was in the 10,000 series. And Amy has looked at it along with her tech people. And I think it's pretty good as written. Now, Julie, there's some things that need changed, like grammar stuff, minor, went ahead and fixed that one. But it's pretty, anyway, it's pretty standard and it's not much different. Our policy in the 10,000s was already very closely aligned with this one. And then we have a, to go along with this that would fit this policy. We just have to make sure we send it home with the responsible use policy with families, and it's posted online as well.
Yeah. Well, just look at page 4, number C, and see if I'm not reading it. I know when you find it there, users may not forward or post personal communications with the authors prior to, you mean without, I think, don't you?
Hold on a second.
Where are you?
Number 14.
Page 4, top of page C.
14.
C, you mean B?
Yeah, where the red letters are.
Oh, okay,
Red letters
14B.
are
Users may not read, alter, change.
Execute or delete files belonging to another user with.
personal communications with the author's prior consent. Do you mean with that? It sounds, what do you mean with that?
Either needs to stay only with, or
What do you mean with that?
Okay, oh, I see where you are. 9C. Okay. Users may not forward or post personal communications with the author's prior consent. Yeah, it should
Yeah.
be without.
Yeah, I thought,
You know, it's probably.
it's all come my face. But, maybe says it's okay. It's. Mm.
Let me ask to make sure that that's what the intent
I
was.
mean, I know.
And that's what
I
makes
marked it because I
sense.
thought it sounded funny. I wasn't sure what it's supposed
I think I read it. Well,
may not forward or post personal communication with the.
okay, I will get clarification on that for you, just to make
Okay.
sure.
But does it sound funny to you?
yes.
It does,
It sounds incorrect to me, but I mean, you know,
but depending on,
and then I thought maybe it meant something that I wasn't thinking of, so I don't know.
How do we, how do we educate our students on this policy? Because obviously they've abused it many times, so how do we educate them on this policy?
So in their little handbook, their technology, device handbook, it is referred to, this policy is referred to. Diane, we don't have facilitators anymore, so.
I know.
Being part of, their process to go over, copyright and all of those things, so. Of course, our media coordinators, they're touching on a lot.
they're
of
the
this now
touching on
for
a
us.
lot of it.
Our media coordinators are.
So
Why don't we have technology people anymore?
can't afford them.
So how do we get, so we can't afford them? Because I think if we're gonna do all these technological things, if we're gonna have all of this, if we're moving toward what Bill says we're moving to, then we've got to have, that word.
So,
We're gonna have to have some, we're gonna have to have more instruction on what that looks like, how to interpret those and all those. So how do we get those positions back where they need to be?
well, there are options that we have and none of them are great. I'm being honest because the state
Please
does
be.
not give us these positions. This is the pot of money that we talk about that has all of our instructional facilitators, that we have a couple at each elementary school, one at Blue Ridge, two at the others because of size, middle school and high school. We have counselors are in that pot of funds, which is not, it's terrible. We have tech facilitators your media coordinators, those are all a part of the same pot of funds, and we get 5 for our entire district, total. 5, and we have a whole bunch of others, so that's one. Another place that we exceed requirements of the state is our teaching assistants, and I know where that's.
Know where Diane
Listen,
stands on that.
Well, I'm just telling you some options.
I know, I'm not.
None of them are popular. Like, I think the state needs to give us these funds, period. I think we need position allotments that say that if you have this school and you have this classroom, this is what you get, but they do not, and they keep decreasing and putting more and more.
We're gonna have to have a budget before we do anything.
Well, and we don't even have a budget. You're right. I mean, so the whole thing is really messed up, but that's part of it. We're not sure anything federal right now. And think of how many teachers that we have currently in federal. We have 17 teaching positions.
17.
Teachers in our school district, like classroom teachers that are paid for through that budget. We also have a couple of teacher assistants at the pre-K. We've got, we all, up here, do multiple jobs because we
we don't want to take it away from schools if we can help it. But it's really getting tight. I mean, Earl's CTE budget has dwindled every single year. So maintaining programs while they are increasing the requirements of the programs that we have to offer is slim. Let me get off my soapbox here, but I get really upset when we think about what we are able to provide, and we do. And then you got to think, okay, you can't put 30 kids in a classroom or 35 kids in a classroom or maybe more, and then put it, you know what I mean? And some of them we're at the limit of what I'm willing to tolerate for some of our classes, especially elementary. I think our classes are about 24. Roughly, you have a couple that are 25, you have a couple that are 25 because they moved in and whatever. I mean, but they're fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, which they don't even give a class size limit on those. We limit.
So I'm assuming you already know there's no grant money that we could write for to
For a
try
classroom teacher or for a
for this position, yes. Is there?
I mean, not that I know of. I think we were.
And then that's hard because it's temporary, because you're gonna hire somebody that might not be there next year.
And this has
You don't
been
get
a
grants.
long-term problem that goes back. When I entered teaching in the 1970s, I had a $50 supply budget. When I retired for my classroom supplies, when I retired, I had a $50 supply budget, and I had to get computer discs. I had to get computer printer paper, all kinds of new things that I didn't used to have to get before. It's been an ongoing process that education has been hurt dramatically
So
by
we have
legislators.
assistant principals at every one of our schools.
Right.
I don't know how you do it without an assistant principal. I don't. I think that would be an impossible task. Assistant principals, again, administration, is not something that, anyway, it's not a coveted position for people who are trying to finance stuff. There are several options that we could make choices. I don't know that, anyway, I don't know what that's going to take. We have a tech facilitator, not a tech facilitator. We have a technician in every one of our schools. They all do district duties. Everybody has multiple roles. And I just don't know what that would take. I mean, we look at our budget really carefully. We could ask for more money from the county commission. We press the state on even getting a budget and what that looks like. Again, I'm concerned if when the federal allocations change, and I'm not saying if, but when the federal allocations change, what that's really going to mean, because it sends it back to the states. Are they going to prioritize the same things that we need here? I think they need to give us local flexibility, but a lot of districts don't even have a lot of these positions that we have in the classroom. So I don't know, I hate even that answering that because I get so passionate about it. And this is the type of thing that shouldn't keep me up at night because I really don't have a whole lot of control over it. But we do with how we use our money here, but it's thin.
Well, we were presented with the plan, strategic plan for the state. And how do they plan on doing that without any money? And I noticed several areas that it would require us to have those positions in order for us to implement that strategic plan here. We've got to do our own strategic plan. So if they don't come up with some money for us to do this, I don't see how they expect us to do all of these things without the money. You just cannot do it without the money in order to create those positions to do these things. And I looked at that and I thought, we're going to empower our teachers. Okay, but we haven't passed the budget yet. And if they get paid, and finally in May, then they have to pay a bonus tax on the money that they were supposed to receive from August. And it drives me insane. So we'll be writing letters tonight. Okay. And talking with conversations.
So coming up in December, you'll see our budget timeline, and we backed it up a month so we can have earlier conversations And Ian also planned for January, because last year, January was a little crazy, and, you know, we had even virtual options for board meetings. But anyway, we can talk about that, you know, we want to be, right now, we know with our ADM, we will lose, and it'll be through attrition. We will lose it through at least 3 teachers. We lose them every year. We do a good job of preserving, you know, the integrity of the academics. I know our class sizes have increased a little bit, but not significantly compared to what it could. You know, we could effectively put, you know, some of those positions that are outside of a traditional classroom and make them go back in the classroom. But I think we're trying to preserve some of the things that we have too. So for example, you know, we have AIG teachers at each of our elementary schools, and they teach reading and math 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, or actually 3rd through 6th grade.
They also do stuff in kindergarten and 1st grade as well.
And then they also go into, for talent development, into our earlier grades. So, you know, that's something that I think we need. You know, thankfully, EC budget will continue. I don't think that will ever, and Terry does an amazing job with our EC budget. In fact, we have one of the lowest teacher to student ratios anywhere in the state. And I think that's because she budgets so well. And then we've been able to do some other things like behavior specialists out of her budget that allow us to support systemic things throughout our schools that otherwise, you know, we wouldn't be able to have. We wrote grants. So we have some people that are in grants right now that the grant expires at the end of the year. So, you know, Jamie is constantly looking for and writing other grants. Our social workers who do so much, they're all grant provided. Some of the nurses are grants. They're forming, you know, with partnerships. All of the mental health that we have are grants. We wouldn't get enough money in some of the pots of money in order to even purchase an entire position. So, Leah, it's anyway, if somebody would just let me design it. Seriously.
Let a woman design.
We get, you know, like, I think we do a great job here, but there's things that we need that we no longer can have. And that's because of the budget, and then costs of stuff that you have to have just keep increasing. And so we have a lot of unfunded mandates. There's several of them, you know, for example, Title III, which is a federal budget. We've got all kinds of mandates in Title III. However, we get what, $26,000 or something?
Because of Title III.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't get hardly anything. Yeah, it just barely pays for the tutor for less than 19 hours at Mountain View. And
Is that decreased?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
every year.
Title IV, Title III, Title II, it all decreased. The year before I came, we took a big hit in Title I, and then I think 3 years in, we took another cut. Even though the poverty rate is positive correlation in our state, we thought we were gonna get it increased, but it decreased.
All right, sorry to get depressing on some of that in a technology responsible use policy, but
Okay, but
it all ties in.
I really think that there ought to be a plan for the kids to understand this policy besides having, even if it comes down to homeroom teachers or whatever, going over those. It's got increasingly
Educated
important that they
Yeah.
follow the policy.
I was gonna say, I think they already do that at the beginning of the year with
Do they?
our kids.
Yeah.
In every classroom.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that they follow it. It
Uh,
doesn't mean that they apply. It doesn't
Don't
mean that
they
they're gonna
mean-
follow
But
it.
if they
They
hear
enforce
it,
it.
then they can't say, well, we didn't know about it. And if you look on.
And these are signed off by their parents too,
And they're also signed on their
and the students,
digital,
Good,
and the
yeah,
students.
they're signed off on that.
but it's misspelled in this thing under A.
A what?
I think it's supposed to be honest. Just
Oh, it
A.
is here. Yeah, it is. It's honest. There you go. I fixed it.
Don't worry about these people. but I mean, I don't think that,
Hog test.
pardon me?
Is that hog test? I've seen how you spell it.
Can we take a line out behind that, between the first and second paragraphs and then add a line between the A and the second paragraph?
Okay, where are you? Oh, right
Okay.
here.
Very beginning, yeah, there's two
Yeah,
lines there.
got it.
They only need one up in between the two first paragraphs. I think you only need one line there.
Yeah, we can, they'll clean up this whenever they publish it. They'll clean it up before they put it on our, whatchamacallit online. And I'll try to do as much as I can, before I submit it to them.
That's what they're getting paid for, just submit it to them, clean it up.
Yeah.
We got everything we need to do on this one done. So maybe we can get another one done.
Well, you go to E, down page 5.
GE, yep.
I'm just reading that. And it says each principal may establish rules for his or her school site as to whether or how personal technology devices, including but not limited to smartphones, tablets, laptops, may be used on campus. I mean,
We decided not to have that on campus. Did we not?
In a
our
different,
other
in a
policy?
different policy, yep.
yeah, so I mean, it was,
Good job, Josh.
no, I got one.
Okay, so,
It's a Dr. Pepper kicked in.
all
There you
right,
go.
so the,
May I have some doctor?
so under E, so for example, there are some times when adults have to use your personal hotspot to gain access and keep working.
If you don't have a state
But
phone.
if we say students,
No, well, it's not on a state phone, but I have a personal,
I
phone. It's the
know,
only way you
yeah.
keep on working, and sometimes that's
It's the only way we can connect.
it's the only, or sometimes it's the only way to connect when it goes down.
so, I mean,
I don't know. I'm just wondering about each principal may establish rules. Maybe this would follow the district's rules. Is that they're not allowed?
So.
no, they're not allowed.
I mean, that contradicts the policy of.
It does,
devices.
it does, but like, what about some adults that you know, they communicate and put remind on their own? Or, I mean, I get the students aren't, but
If we
Well, maybe if
leave
you-
it to students.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Maybe
I'm
reword it.
saying the students more so than the adults.
The adults should be responsible.
My mind went to the students more so than it did teachers and
We just
staff.
gotta add the words.
so, so Amy, thinking forward,
Yeah.
what issue would that be if they're using their personal hotspot? An adult to access the internet?
Probably happens a lot,
Well,
because our filters are so strong.
like, there's some things that you just can't do.
Yeah.
And how should E address the pouches? Because the high schools,
Well, it does say
None of our-
student devices are also governed by policy 4318
Okay.
in there.
is that the one that we have the pouches?
Use of
in?
wireless communication devices, yeah.
Okay.
So I guess my,
Here's another thing is, no. I was thinking of substitute. Sometimes it was hard for me as a substitute to be able to get on.
We
Of course,
have to
Marty
be
was-
very careful. With MFA, a lot of times the teachers do have to use their device.
for multi-factor.
I think there's a way to
Yeah.
designate that it's for teachers and staff versus students.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me get clarification that and make sure there's no technical reason, but I think that, we do need some flexibility there for teachers.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
But for students.
I'm just saying if there's a way to just clarify.
Yeah.
That it does clarify it later, student devices are governed,
Yeah, but the way.
but
with
the way
it
it reads, it doesn't read that way.
being- okay. We don't only have personal websites.
They don't require teachers to maintain their own website anymore. We used to have to do that. That was a time consuming little apparatus.
Most of them link directly to their Canvas page now.
Has that taken the place of?
Kind of that's their web page.
Number 2 there, it says employees' personal websites. What's that?
So we might have some that have a personal webpage just for, it used to be required.
Really?
Mhm.
Yes, that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
You used to have to do your own.
But they shouldn't be using a personal one to communicate with
Little
kids
data.
at all.
Yeah.
Facebook,
So,
Instagram.
I just didn't know what that meant.
Just because you're a spring chicken and I'm not, you know.
Don't be jealous.
Hey, what they can't tell. Older than dirt's what describes me, and I'm not the oldest one in here either.
Don't talk about Earl like that.
That's right. I'm still here.
all right, anything else on that one? I will clarify that just to make sure.
I'm glad it does the consequences at the end. I was trying to get to that, but I hadn't made it till. It's hard not to have all of that without listing
Oh, there it is.
a number H or letter H, not number H.
And it also says volunteers are encouraged to block students from viewing personal information. Is that like Facebook kind of thing?
It could be,
Okay.
I mean,
Mhm.
you know, some people have everything that's open for everybody to see and some do not. Some friend people and they're not supposed to.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Can a teacher be friends with a student on Facebook?
So.
No.
so
Okay, I'm glad I
they
asked. I didn't know
well,
that.
They should not at all unless, like, it's your nephew or it's somebody that
Family.
you've been friends with because they're, you know, their next door neighbor and they babysit
feel
your
it.
child or
Yeah.
something like
And they
that.
call you Diane.
There would have to be a true personal relationship, appropriate relationship,
Yeah.
in order for that to be an exception. So you're babysit. You know what I mean? Or something like that.
Or in your son.
Tell Grant I cannot
Be friends
friends
with
with him
him.
on Facebook.
Well-
That's why I'm not, Grant sent me a.
Well,
friend
I have a couple of our
Did he really?
students
Yes,
that are on the you know, student representatives to the board that have sent me Facebook requests and Instagram requests, and I keep mine private, and I'm like, you graduate. at the end of the
Okay,
year,
so-
your graduation date.
Okay,
my
so
graduation
everybody
date,
knows
then
I'm
you should be-
Facebook world, you know. So am I allowed to be like kids I go to church with and stuff like that, that's in the school system? Am I allowed to be friends with them?
You can be friends with anybody you want because you are a member of the public.
Okay, I'm safe that way. Okay.
But on a school system device, I would.
Amy told us
I
we
thought you
couldn't a long time ago when I
You
first
could.
got on this
I don't
board.
think a
Is
board
that,
member can.
We-
I don't think a board member
Is that,
is
that's it?
considered, I think they're considered.
I'll clarify for you.
Okay.
I'm over speaking then. I was,
that's why I
So,
turned Grant.
Yeah.
yeah.
so no kids.
So the only way you can have them is if you already have, if they're your niece or your nephew, you have a reason to have a relationship with them outside of school, and it needs to be a legit. That's what policy states. So I always say if they're part of your Sunday school class, now if they're just Grant's friend,
Can't.
no.
So even like my youth group at church, I
Your
can,
youth group at church would be fine
That'd
because
be
you
fine.
have
Relationship.
a
a
relationship outside
relationship
of.
with them in another
Capacity.
capacity besides school.
Well, I'm gonna have to go through my friends, then explain and tell my mom sorry.
And I do the same thing, Dr. Cox.
Okay.
I'll get them and I just private message them and say, hey, do the policy. I can't, but when you graduate, I am clicking the yes button.
So I have a couple people whose parents will email me, hey, do you mind if you know, my daughter or son calls you on this number? And I'm like, if you were there and you give your permission, and usually it's because we've got, you know, something else going on, it's some of these, you know what I mean? Or it's a scholarship or something like that. I've talked to a couple of kids, but they're on it's their parents are sitting there.
Gotcha. Okay. Glad I asked that question.
Everybody good with this one?
Yes,
I'm gonna get direct clarification on that piece of it. I think it's best to just stay away and not.
Yeah.
You know, you need to talk to the parent and that's always best practice. Our teachers absolutely cannot, but.
Maybe grandfathered in.
We'll check on that.
Okay.
We'll get it.
So we got-
Specifically, but
what? 3230 and
I'm not
7330.
I'm not friends with them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
they're acquaintances, whatever, you're not friends with them.
Well,
So we've got
32.
3230.
So 30
A lot
to
of-
30.
I don't see 30.
This is copyright compliance. It's very, so essentially it just, removes the description of the fair use doctrine. It's a list of factors that they put in there, that are more reliable versus, the description. Adds fair use of copyrighted materials in the preparation of multimedia projects to the list of topics on which students and employees must be trained. It includes minor editorial and formatting changes and then legal references. That's pretty much what it is, but, this would just add to the list at the beginning of the year for copyright. Most of that's done in your English classes anyway, or through the media, coordinators.
Do we have a updated language about Chat GPT and other AI?
So we have one to bring to you, but it won't be this time. This is a lot, probably not gonna get down through all these, but we do have one that our media coordinators and Amy have worked on, that we'll send to you when, probably the next appropriate time.
I think January, if it's okay, we're gonna bring it in January.
So it will be a
That
separate
works.
policy from this use of AI?
So this is, yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I hope it has that framework that I've been wanting before we.
Diana, have you looked at the one that Tanya did that's on the high school page?
No, I have not had time. I've been reading policies.
She said again with a group from the state, created a AI guideline. She's done a good job with it.
I was
We've incorporated it into some of the policies.
That's what
going
they're
by to see her
practicing right
today
now.
because I can't go tomorrow. I have appointments in Winston and I never made it. There was an incident. I never made it. So anyway,
So this is just updating verbiage, basically.
but I will
It's
look at
10
it.
years old,
I will look at
because
it.
last time it was
Because I
approved
do-
was 11
I do
years
think
ago.
it's important to have the framework.
So then we can move on
Before
to the
we
next one.
do the policy.
And I have a question. Why is category B budget there with nothing?
It is blank. Oh,
Oh, the
no,
next
it is.
page, it goes the next
It's
page.
one sentence on the next page.
The budget recommended.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, but,
That needs to be moved right
Very into
before
that.
what you talk about or the bottom.
3230.
Yeah,
Come over,
yeah, that should come up.
because it's got enough space there to bring it all over, I need to get rid of it. Deletions.
I doubt that sufficient funds for purchasing copyright materials is going to ever be sufficient compared to what we would think we would like to have, but who defines what's sufficient? I'm fine with, I guess this is changed.
So we are on 32.
3230,
230.
7330.
So 3220, which is not in your updated chart, is where, I just found the thing, is where the School Boards Association's AI guidelines are. It's 3220. We don't have it in here because they were updating it in the end. It's just changed so much. But we do have feedback, so that will be brought in January. That's why I
We're meeting
something in my head.
January 5th. We've already got on our calendars to finalize that policy.
What?
January 5th. We've already got it on our calendar.
And so we'll bring
We're
it
meeting
to the right now, we don't have a mid-January policy meeting on the schedule. because of
What a shame.
snow.
He said a
So,
bad word.
but we can if you'd like, but we always figured that that was usually a pretty big week for snow, especially with these polar vortexes.
What word?
She said it again, twice.
What did I say? I said the snow word, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's three.
I know, that.
Less than a
I think
minute.
Baltimore,
Ah,
anyway,
It's-
Beetlejuice,
it's-
Baltimore, whatever.
Baltimore.
Snow, all the same. But we'll bring it then, and that way we've had enough time to get the rest of the input from that team, and they've got a pretty good one right now.
Is everybody good on 3230?
Yep.
Yep.
As is,
school calendar.
33.
So 3,300, school calendar, and Earl already has a draft and ready to send out to, a team upcoming, so that will start, soon.
I thought you was gonna say he had a change to the changes we already got.
I know, that's what I said.
No, nothing yet.
No, the way it's been going.
But the way it's been going, it really could. But really the school calendar, this has a lot of changes. If you look in the, as far as the, length of the school day and, there's a lot of stuff on here. So instead of school day, it's school calendar. It deletes a lot of stuff that, wasn't there before. Anyway, it's really been simplified. But as far as the basic things that are in there, it revised the policy to align with calendar statute changes, which they are recommending. I think that's more required just because you guys want to follow state statute.
Yes.
Includes an optional revision to eliminate section D to streamline the policy language that merely basically says the same thing it has had in it before. Some editorial changes and legal references, but for the most part, 3,300, it's just updated to reflect the law.
There was a workshop I was in last week, and the discussion at the end, I was surprised how many boards had voted to totally ignore this law.
They do. There are 40 some, maybe more
Really?
than that, districts that ignore the law.
Wow.
But, Mr. Heiss had made it clear that if we don't follow this, that
Oh, I
there will
know.
be
They can-
repercussions. He made
they
it
can
clearly
remove our
to
funding.
me.
And they threaten that every year, and yet there hasn't been a consequence.
We'd be the first one.
But when we do it, that's what happens.
Yeah, we don't want to be the first one.
You know,
Yeah.
we're fine. The problem is that we being a mountain county really need to be able to start about a week.
Yes.
We do get to start a week earlier than everybody else legally, but really we need 2 weeks.
Yes.
In order to be able to have a school calendar in, and I'll just share with you, Earl, shared this morning, with the next calendar. And right now, to have it more equal semesters, first semester to second semester, we really need to be able to start school a week earlier, which in our case would be the 10th. And then, because right now in December, it has us going clear to the 22nd of December, which is a Tuesday. I don't like that idea. I would almost rather eat 2 days and have them get out the 18th, which is the weekend before, and give them those 2 full weeks. However, when you take days away from the first semester, it really decreases because we have our weather typically in second semester. So,
Sometimes in first.
Well, and we're unique
We were
in that if I've paid attention to the weather, we get every storm that comes through the northeast, we get every storm that comes from the south, from the southwest, the northwest, and we'll be the only county that gets everything. And so,
Do we have to have that part in there converting to a year-round calendar? Because with our weather, I do not see any possibility of us converting to a year-round calendar. Because we miss January anyway, or at least we did last year. So is there any reason for that to be part of our policy?
Well,
I don't know. I kind of like to have that
I would like to have
option
it
in
here,
case.
yeah.
For working folks. I'll
Oh,
just be
yeah.
honest, for the working folks out there, summers are hard for people that are in business and industry and their kids are off for 2 months.
I know I have
On there,
mannequin
you know.
also.
And it would
Right,
help
yeah,
in
yeah.
the winter time too.
You know, but I'm not saying that's what we need to do, but I don't think
Yeah.
we need to delete it.
I like it to be a discussion of some,
Yeah, I can't see us being able to do that because of all of the, well, January weather and the February weather and maybe even March weather. I don't see us being able, so, but I mean, it doesn't hurt to leave it in there. But the other question I had was the board will revise, they said only if necessary to comply with the minimum requirements. So it will be the board making that decision and not the calendar committee, correct?
I'm sorry for.
Where you at?
I'm under number 1, waiver of opening or closing dates.
Well, that's opening and closing dates, but
It
we
said-
have to comply with the law.
Well, it says the board, and last year there was some discussion whether we had to re-vote on that or not. I would like to make it clear that we need to re-vote on that as a board. And although it may be a suggestion from the calendar committee, I think the board has to make that vote, correct?
Well, and this is, go ahead, girl.
So when we're looking at the closing date, that's legislatively, they tell us like for the 26-27 calendar, it tells you June 11th is the last day of the teacher contract. So if I'm interpreting this right, that means the board could extend out beyond that, but that's because we call no days during the school year. Is that
That was my understanding of reading this, that circumstances like we had where we couldn't have school so much, we can extend beyond the.
Okay.
9 days.
So last year we were given a reprieve from that and it was June 30th. But any other year, it's over about June 11, June 12. It's prescribed each year what the last day
Okay.
is.
My question is, if we put out this calendar and we say school's gonna end this day, and then we get all this weather, I'm not saying that we don't need to do that. What I'm saying is, it says the board will revise the closing date if only necessary to comply with the minimum requirements, blah, blah, blah. So it should come back with a recommendation from the calendar committee that the board do this? Is that what I'm reading?
So here's logistical. So for example, I'm up 3 a.m., whatever, we have no
I don't care
power.
about that.
Well, but this comes into play of what actually happens and determines it. Like last year, we had, 5 days in a row where the majority of our county had ice and did not have power. I had no option but to do a no day because we couldn't get kids to school and there was no power, so we couldn't have school remotely. So I had to cancel it. You would have to call a board meeting
No, that's not what I'm
to be able to
talking about.
extend the school year 5 days because we can't pay by law, we can't pay people for not working. So we would have to extend the school year by 5 days. Because it just pushes it out 5 days. I mean, that's the type of thing that I'd have to have flexibility in. If not, then I don't know how to administer that.
It's the closing date only if you need it to.
And the closing date's gonna be whatever is legislated is the last possible date.
If you get your hours in, you're okay.
Correct. And last year we didn't even come close to the number of hours, but we had a waiver. But if I call a no day because nobody can work, then they have to work another day moving out or they don't get paid.
So the closing date it's referring to here is not the necessarily last day of school on this current calendar.
No.
That's the last day of contract labor,
Correct.
basically for the teachers
That's our-
that are contracting. Because it doesn't really say the last day of school or anything. It's the closing date.
It's not clear in the policy.
I will get clarity on that,
I would
but
appreciate
I don't
that.
know how from a no day perspective. If you can't work, you can't work, or you can't hold school. I don't know how to do
So
that.
just as an example, the 26-27 template that I worked on has the last day of school on the 3rd. The last teacher day, contract is the 4th. It's the next day, so
Don't make that construction.
we couldn't go any further unless
And that's legislative.
that's legal.
That's last
We go out to
contract
the
date?
11th. we could go out to the 11th. So if we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no days, and we kept extending out to the 11th, then
Only if we had no days, correct?
correct. Because
Okay.
it's 215-day teacher contract. But if we wouldn't be on the 11th, my interpretation is we would have to, the board would have to approve that. We would be
Because
on that.
they have teachers and all of our classified employees have different numbers of days that they are required by contractor. And so that's what that has to deal with.
They go in the hole, basically. So you're gonna get clarification on.
I'll get clarification, but I don't know that.
I do not in any way, size or form, want to get up 3 o'clock in the morning and do what you do. I don't mean
Well,
to
we would
even
require,
imply that.
well, we require, what I'm saying is, it would require a
Meeting.
board meeting in order to make that decision. I just don't know
Well,
logistically what that looks
No,
like.
we will
other
give
than
you
to trust
forgiveness.
me.
I'm sure we will give you forgiveness in that situation.
Take good
But
pictures.
I just for my own clarity,
I'll
I
send you
want to
pictures.
know who's
There is one.
responsible, please. I want to know if I'm responsible if you're,
We'll call you for sure, that, and
well, I'll be awake. It wouldn't matter. I'd be
She said she's gonna call her for sure.
awake.
I'll include you in our, I'll include you in our group text. How about that?
Honey, I slid out the other day when the rest of the world was perfectly clear. I'm going out on 2 wheels.
Well, you and somebody else over,
Yeah.
we got 2 of you up there.
We have
North Pole.
8 minutes left and we have a few more policies I think we could get through.
okay.
The 3320 is the one that has the, it does have a little bit of, this was part of the original conversation that we had,
Yes.
specifically to, watch, this is a big change, obviously. But the one in purple, we could be, we should be consistent with what we decided before. And,
She's highlighted.
Yep.
period. That's makes it consistent.
Mhm.
And then,
Mm-mm.
I said, what high school boy wants to share a room with his sister
Or vice versa.
or vice versa?
Sister with her brother.
I mean, it's really
Let's not discuss that one.
not going
I
there.
really think a student who doesn't provide a signed consent form should not be allowed to go. You know, the teacher is supposed to take those consent forms with them on the trip if something happens. The doctors will not treat that child if you don't have that consent form. They'll have to call a parent, and it might be a matter of life and death. Mine always went in my purse with me, on my arm.
so we have a notebook that goes on every bus and for every trip and you never know when.
You have a notebook, I had to carry mine first.
Are we
Yeah.
still required to do a bus seating chart?
Yes, bus seating charts are required.
Yeah, good.
I
Good.
like the fact that this policy does not have, you must turn in, get board approval, and then specify how many months in advance. I worked at a school system where I had to turn every trip in before school started so that the board could vote on it the first month of school. And I'm like, that was so unreasonable and so difficult to figure out what you wanted to do. So this, I think, gives enough flexibility in terms of timing for, and I like the way this system does it in terms of when you win a competition and you get to go to regionals, we can manage to get the approval done.
And
So,
we've never turned down anybody that wanted to come last minute either. I can name
So-
names, but I won't, but we've never turned them down because it's about kids.
yeah. The
So,
teachers do need to be encouraged to get those requests in as early
And
as
most of them
possible,
do.
after they understand they want to do it, but
Well,
I
and
think
then
this one.
this is much better than what we currently have. So then whenever you have the playoffs, you don't have to, and it's in Raleigh, you don't have to come at the last minute. Or write something so generic that it leaves it open and makes it or not.
let's hope that they get to do that.
But it is good if they do. I like it when they provide us information
I do.
instead of
too.
just saying we're going here and staying overnight.
Yeah.
I like to know what they're gonna do.
Like
you
the
know,
middle
just,
school, they were very detailed in the
Yeah.
beach.
And
trip
I
that's
like
coming.
that.
You know,
There's a certain person who shall remain nameless that needs to work on that a little bit.
How many more do you have you want us to go
Okay.
through? Because
Well, that's true. I mean, it's true. I'm not saying anything.
So that
other.
was 3320.
Hmm.
Um,
34 3,400.
3,400.
Going back,
That's
sorry.
probably, that's probably a good spot, actually. Unless you want to keep going.
I
About
think
5
we're good.
minutes.
I don't, well, I mean, that still don't get us through all of the
It
3,000.
won't. We still have
So-
quite a few and.
That's a good chunk.
um,
Published.
you guys got. You got pretty some. No, well, I'll tell you.
Well,
there
it'll never
are-
be finished.
You,
Yeah, we'll have to
It's
start over.
that it will never be completely finished because there's
been helping Dr. Cox with
Christine,
these,
yeah.
Christine, and
Mhm.
her comment was, once we get through of all these, it'll be a matter of just updating this one, this one, this one as soon as it happens, so we're not having to
And most
recreate.
of it's just real little
everything.
language versus, that was a pretty major. Because it had been so long.
All right, so before we adjourn on there, so the next meeting is in December. And it's on the, December 1st. There are some conflicts. I know all of us have been invited to the CLC dinner for the Blue Ridge Energies. On there, which starts at 6 o'clock, for that. Thought was December is as busy as it is all the time. It would be hard to move that date. Would the board be amenable to bumping up our meeting time to say 3-ish on there, then in hopes that we get through in time to get there by 6 p.m.
So public comment is the only thing we need to make sure that we publicize that
We need
time
time.
so that they can actually, we have to provide public comment at each of those meetings. And I would suggest if that's the case, 5 o'clock time.
Let them come later.
Yeah,
Have the
it
public
up-
Put it at the
comment
end.
scheduled at 5 at the end, and then if there's, anything major on any of them, you know what I mean, if they have something that you want.
I think that would be
Yeah.
better for the public too, because
Yeah.
a lot of, they may be working a job, but if we can't get through by 6 o'clock, should we start earlier?
I don't know
Well, he was
how
saying
much-
5 would be the end of the meeting. We'd meet at maybe 3 o'clock.
I think
Or
3 would be.
2:30?
3:30.
So
I was thinking we might need to go early. How big is the agenda? Do you know yet?
Well, I haven't published it yet because I was waiting to get through this one, so people don't get mixed up on which meeting. But, and that's us too. But we talked about it this morning. We have, I don't think it's as an intensive meeting, but we do have 2 speakers coming. One is the, Basica for our 5-year, plan. So I think he's probably 15-20 minutes. Because it is, it plans out the things that we think are coming up or are coming up as far as facility needs. The auditor will be there. Now, I sent you in advance the pre-information. And of course, because of the federal shutdown for so long, there is a delay in some